What's up, everybody? How's it going? How you doing? It's the day, right? Sorry, I've had a very traumatic morning, y'all, with the uh tornadic weather that was it just sprang upon us. I don't know what Zuzu and the crew are doing, what they conjured up. But yeah, it came out of nowhere. The storm came out of nowhere, right? Am I right? Am I right? But it did. And me and Jason, we had 2 hurricanes in 2020. Mhm. Maybe less than 2 months apart, I think. We left for Laura, but we stayed home for Delta. And y'all, today, this morning, like that, I didn't even know it was about to rain. I didn't know it was on its way. And then I was like, "Oh my god, it was raining sideways." And it's like, my bedroom window's right there, and I live in a mobile home, one that's been through a lot of hurricanes, right? And I'm just like, well, it's gonna give one day, right? Um, I think it's what holds it up sometimes. I know, I can't believe we're here. Storm is on your bingo card. You're welcome. Oh man. So are y'all okay, Natalie? That was crazy. Ashley, you okay? Yeah, you were driving. I was jealous of the people passing on my street. I was just because I mean, I don't like being stuck. Don't like it. I'm not a fan. And I felt stuck. And then, we had the boys, they were about to go get on the bus. And I was like, oh, it was that fast. And I mean, so we couldn't really go out because the wind, the rain, my awning looked like it was about to fly off. It was worse than Delta. I'm not playing. At least I could prepare for the hurricane, but no one can prepare for the storm. Just kidding. It was crazy. My heart hurt actually because it was beating so hard. Me and the boys went into our little pantry closet, that it's just a closet really. And I was just trying to tell them what we need to do. And, uh, and then I started praying, right? And then I forgot that I've been saying this prayer since I was like 7. And I was like, wait, I forgot the next line, and Leland told me, and I was like, "Never mind." I was just frazzled, and then I didn't sleep last night, so, I'm just I don't know what it is. I'm sure it's the trial, but I wasn't exactly, like, thinking about it, but I guess it's just there. Good morning. Hey, Jean Marie. Hey, Ashley. Had to bring your daughter to Barb, then 30 minutes later, they closed. Right. We kept telling the boys that too. We're like, probably not probably not gonna go to school. So they're here. I told them to be quiet, but they are kids. So uh, Dream Big says, in my opinion, this started with a man in midlife crisis and a woman manipulating the situation, and it evolved into this horrendous desire for power and money at the expense of others. Yeah, it's a good way to look at it. Okay. Hold on. I'm like, hold on. Hold y'all. Hold please. Right. Let me go check. I don't know why I feel like I'm late, and that's probably because I'm usually always late. But I was actually here. Okay. All right. So I have Judge Boyce's channel pulled up, and whenever that gets going, we're gonna stream it. So I think hold on. Let me hush. Let me just click on it and get it going here so I don't have to be scatterbrained. But anyways, I'm glad, that you guys are here. I appreciate you being here. Everybody and their mama is streaming it, right? So at least it's available on TV and we can, you know, let's do this the rest of the way together. That's how it's been the whole time for me. Okay, let's see. Oh, I can't expand it, I don't think. Not till it goes live. And it's 9 a.m. our time or their time? That's so weird. I get so confused with the time changes. Oh, so anybody that's I don't even know where that storm what direction it was going in, but I'm sure it's gonna be, it continues to roll on. So I just hope everybody takes, just be aware of your surroundings for sure. And, be safe. Be safe and don't be I mean, I was a dodo bird straight up. I mean, I was just, I was like, how am I going to get, to the truck with the kids, and I mean, I just bolted for it. And then Jason, he fell. I mean, it was just, I'm shook up from that. I mean, it just finished at like 7:30 or around that time. It was crazy. Okay. I just have that on. That way it'll pop up and show me. Oh, let me not put my glasses on. That's only when I look far away, right? Okay, let me get back to y'all. All right, there you are. Oh, there goes my Wi-Fi. Shit. I pay for a tower just for this computer all alone. I'm tired of the problems. Honestly. This is gonna piss me off. I just see the little Wi-Fi signal. I hope I'm not glitching already. I'm good? Okay. Thank you. Wow, 0? That's crazy. I'm kinda catching the tail end of that. Sue. Ellen says, "Hey, Crusher, we'll ride this storm together." Oh my goodness, no, ma'am. Hard pass. Oh, let me not say hard, right? You can't ruin everything, Chad and Lori. Can't. You're on same time as Idaho. Awesome. I'm glad you're here, Robin. Oh, thank you, Anna. Sweet. You've always been very sweet. And you contribute to the conversation. I really love that. Really, really. Let's see. I wonder where have y'all seen KJ here yet? Hmm. Good morning to you too, Cheyenne Pina. I guess that's how you say it, right? My name's Kresha, so trust me, everybody butchers my name. Um, and if I'm around my mom, whenever people are trying to figure my name out, I'm just like, it's her fault. It is her fault, and her name's Ethel, and anyway, so at least I'm not named Ethel. That's a plus. Ethel? You had tornadoes last week in Kentucky? Oh my goodness. It's scary because you can't, they just kind of pop up. Uh, hmm. All right. Okay, I'm sorry that screen just came on, so we're getting prepared, y'all. We're it's about to go down, right? Oh my god. I don't even know how I feel. Anxious, I guess. That's a good descriptor. I need to be outside picking up some damn limbs. It's nuts. Mm. Hey, Kristen. A girl. I learned so much from you, Kresha. Oh my gosh, you poor thing. I feel so bad because, the stuff that I talk about, that we talk about, it's so weird and it's so hard to talk about. It is weird. It's the only word I really have as far as a descriptor. I know they're plain. I don't know. My camera's fuzzing out. Thank you. Thank you, a girl. I appreciate that.
Hey, Kresha.
Yes.
The screen for them is not up anymore. Did you know that? Because I noticed it says, yeah, it needs put it back up. That's right.
What? Yeah, no. I just have it
Okay.
backstage for now.
Okay.
I could do this too.
I was just making sure.
Yeah.
And um and also I'm on here, so if you need to go in and out
I
because of the
appreciate it.
Wi-Fi or something, I'll
We
be
need to
hanging
stretch
on.
our fingers, because we're gonna be doing a lot of this today. I feel it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to I gotta drink some water today. I'm really dehydrated today. I'm just in bad shape, y'all. So I'm ready to get this sucker started and get this one day behind us, and then the rest is just, it's just that anticipation, I think. I don't know. Anyways, thank
It'd
you,
be
Donna. I appreciate you. Ah, I
come
hope
on,
so.
them people.
I hope so. Um, I feel like nobody as far as, like, in the outer, not so much this community, but the rest of the community. I'm just like, "Okay, come on, I need it to catch." And I don't know if I'm just blind to it. Maybe it has caught on. I mean, I know a lot more things have come out and happened with Hildebrandt, Frankie, Ballard, all the people, right? Thank you, Robinette. Right? I'm trying to breathe. We're gonna need alcohol tonight, Kresha. Get the Jello shots. Is that on your card, Bewitched? Hey, and let me know how I can, how do we do bingo? I don't even know how. I'm down. I'm down. I like going to play bingo at the bingo hall. I used to go with my grandma when they had the little windows on the little cards. I mean, that was a long time ago. But I went, with my mother-in-law, my ex-mother-in-law. Sorry. Uh, I was so like old, or I guess you could say I was more of a mama when I was married. My first marriage, I was all meh. Anyways, I went backwards. Uh-oh. Yeah, it's the anticipation. So I saw that Bo Peep was like, "Oh my god, I didn't sleep at all last night." First comment, before we even went live a long time ago, and uh, I was like, huh, I was thinking like, yeah, me too, girl. I'm right there with you. Um, Bo Peep Zero, you've been here forever too. Um, put a one in the chat if you have been here from jump. You know, I mean, I know we all go and venture out. I don't make anybody pick anybody over anybody. You know what I mean? I'm not a damn narcissist. Roam. Go where the information is. Filter through it, bring it back. Let's talk about it. Oh, cool. Oh my god, let me pull my leg. Oh my god, let me pull my leg up. I think I raised my chair. That might be the problem. That and my legs are short. So my Wi-Fi thing keeps coming on, y'all. It's freaking me out. Awesome. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I see all the ones. That's awesome. Oh, you're usually in the bushes, Amy in Boston. Hey, girl, you're welcome here anytime. We everyone's welcome. Lurkers. I wonder how many people have actually, because like Natalie Huber had a prop. I think it was Natalie, right? When we went over there to visit, like you had to like sign up, and I didn't even know how to help. Some people, like, if you put it on subscriber only, there's people who, don't know how to log on, and, it stops them from being able to participate in the chat. So I understand sometimes you got to do it to like kind of control the chat, but I don't think we'll have that problem. So day one, but don't say much. Well, you're appreciated. Every one of you guys. Thank you. The victims deserve all this. And I mean, you guys really bring that out, and you amplify their voices. I appreciate that. I was going through a lot of, I was just kind of working in my Canva app, processing, right? I'm just processing all the things. Yeah. Control the trolls. Yeah. Hey, spread love, not hate. Um, and Rombo, you didn't sleep till 9 a.m. today. Oh my God. And Ed just woke up 4 minutes ago. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Get your ass up. Just kidding. Oh, thank you, Elbug. Oh, thank you, Beach Bum. Oh my gosh, you're my spirit animal. I'm just kidding. You are. Thank you. You're so kind and generous, and you're a moderator too. And everybody has their own lives, and so we all sound like some old. Um, Sometimes we sound like some old grannies, and sometimes it's like one will be in the hospital, another one, and we're just like rotating out, and it's nuts. But we pull together, and that's what matters. That's what community is. Oh, yeah, I'm right there with you, Jojo. I didn't even know I don't know how to take a break. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I could. I don't know how. I've never wanted to take a break or whatever. Um, I can't unplug, and that's just because I have just been dead set, you know? I kinda tend to be like my mom in that manner. Thank you so much, and thank you, Anna. I was about to say Anna. Oh, I'm trying to click it. It's just a going. Thank you so much. I love you too. Love always wins, y'all. I just know it. I just know it. Good morning, Jessica. How are you? Thank you, Sue Ellen. Applause for our mods. They're great. They're wonderful women, you know, from of all different places. I thought that Beach Bum was from California forever. It wasn't long ago. I was like, "Oh, Georgia? Oh, okay, my bad." You know, just wow. We orbit. I know, Stephanie B, I can't believe either. I don't know, I'm ready to just listen to it. I'm ready to get this party. Hey, it's one of the songs that they liked, right? Was it Get This Party Started? Um, Black Eyed Peas? Chad and Lori, remember the song Smule Account and all that? Mhm. Anyways, putting everything in storage. Oh, poor baby. I know it's tough. It's hard. Mm. I love it. Well, poll, will Chad wear a blue or a red tie today? Hmm. Will he blink? Will he I did a interview, last night with, Luke from The Sun, you know, like SUN, Sun magazine, I guess, or whatever it's called, and he asked he asked me right out the gate, you know, about Chad, you know, kinda my initial, "What do I expect?" And I'm like, "It's like watching paint dry, grass grow, popcorn pop." It's like it's just there's nothing there. Nothing w nothing is in there. That's the zombie, right? Totally. That's how I'm like, "Oh, y'all some projecting fools." Because, yeah, that's what you did to your victims, and so here you are being all zombie and stuff. Mhm. Makes sense to me, right? That's the question, yeah. Norway, alright. Red tie equals poor form defense and defendant, just saying. Interesting. I say it means, uh, like I told mom, um, whenever Lori, you know, got extradited from Hawaii to, Idaho for that first initial court hearing, early 2020, and I was like, "Wear red, wear red. It signifies or symbolizes the second coming of Jesus Christ." You know? I don't know. Wear red. She seemed to wear something as close to red that we don't really wear red, you know? It's not really our color. But and it also signify I would say murder, blood. Just that's first thing that comes to my mind. And the fact that he gets to wear a damn tie, how about that? That's more dignity, that's more respect and whatever that he gave to the victims here. So, you know, at least he's breathing. So again, we're gonna see if Chad is gonna have a real death experience. I have to say it because, I mean, I'm not even for or against the death penalty, I don't care. As long as they are off the damn streets and you know what I mean? That's all. Just hold them accountable. That's not on me. That's on the judicial system and, the jury of his peers, you know? And, I mean, that's the state that I'd say his wife I mean, I'd say that Chad paid taxes for, but we know he didn't work. So that Tammy paid taxes, you know, and they're, a capital they believe in capital punishment. Now, ask me if they believe in executing it. I haven't seen any proof of that. You know, Thomas Creech just got out because or not got out, but he got, um they didn't execute him just recently because they couldn't find a vein. I was like, "Really? I mean, wouldn't you just keep on trying, till you just do the deed?" Wondering. Dylan Rounds, yes, yes. Sue's told me that, and I was like, "Ah, that's the best," or wait, "That's the worst, best news I've ever heard," because I can't imagine the hell, you know? I mean, just to never know, to always be looking and looking and looking, just like with Sebastian and all these and Summer Wells and just all these other babies, that it's kinda like the worst in humanity kinda comes out in the social realms, and then the victims or the missing child or persons, everything else just that kind of falls to the background, and you're just like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, readjust," you know? Everybody just shut the hell up, and let's just do what we gotta do to find them. That's it. You have one job, find them. And so, I remember Jen, True Crime Unveiled, um she had said one day, and I mean, I just never thought about it. See, I didn't know all that yet, Robin. I didn't know where they found him yet, but thank you. But anyway, so she had mentioned one time, a long time ago, she was like, "I bet y'all would have felt better if they had never been found," and I was like, "Oh, no." I mean, I thought about it right when she said it, and I was like, "Oh, no, no, no. Oh my god, no." I couldn't imagine the hell of having a missing loved one, and you just don't know. I mean, I like things that I can wrap my head around, and kinda maneuver around, but when you don't know, that's the worst part to me. You did? Oh my god. Oh my does your heart hurt too? Yeah, closure. Mhm. Hey, Carrie Ann, how are you? I'm like doing this to Oh, I put a new cord and it don't glitch out on me now. So, yo, right? Winning. Anyways, his body was missing until yesterday. It's so sad, but I don't know. It's just I don't have the right words. I really suck with the words. Prisoners being able to purposely not drink water for a week straight and have botched execution is a big problem with people injection, in my opinion. I didn't even think about that. Oh, wow. Interesting. Wow, that's nuts. You just got me with that comment, Let me go and flip this real quick. I'm just making sure, right. Double checking. Yeah. Ugh, words. Yeah, ever since, the murders happened in my family, it's really freaked me out, and it's affected me in that sense as far as, like, not being confrontational and not even that, but just and then COVID happened, all that was happening all at the same time, and it's just I'm like, "Oh my god, really?" And I mean, I'm not trying to be insensitive, I understand the gravity of COVID, oh my god, I get it. So, please don't take it that way, or this what I'm about to tell you. I'm like, "Oh, I'm a COVID person as far as, like, the pandemic thing, like, social distancing? Oh, hell yeah, I didn't know. Did not know until that, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I was built for this shit. This is for me." And, you know oh, hey, KJ. But I mean, it allowed me to not have to worry about money in the sense that I was able to draw I'm just being straight up with you. I was able to draw unemployment at that time, the pandemic and, you know, taxes I had paid from jobs worked right before. Oh my god, my nose. And I mean, everything was crazy. The kids were missing. I mean, Jason just had a thoracotomy. Lori's freaking running off with, Raphael, aka Chad Daybell, aka Enoch, aka James the I call him James the Lust, aka Enoch, whatever he is. for that day. Satan tacos and everything. And I mean, so and my uncle had just gotten murdered in the July, in 90 I'm sorry, in 99. In 2019, how about? Yes, yes, Joel, big time. Yeah. It was crazy. That was crazy. It was crazy. I mean, and then the hurricanes, we had 2 back to back. I mean, just it was freaking Trauma Tour 2020. Woo woo. I didn't know there was a hurricane. Laura, she was heading straight for us, and mom was like, "Hey, you evacuating?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Yeah, saying Taco Tuesday. Hey, JLO, I was just thinking about you 2 days ago. I mean, and I should have texted you then. But I mean, you were heavy on my mind actually the other day. Yeah, love you. Satan Taco Tuesday. What did Chris say? He said, chins and tacos. All right. Chin and Taco Tuesday. Say that real fast. I'm just ready to kind of see how it's going to set the stage. I want to get my feelers out there, and I just want to pick up on what they're putting down, as far as the pace of everything, the vibe that's going to be out there. Which way are we going to go, George? You know what I mean? I want to, and I hope like hell eventually, I hope by the end of this trial, we get to watch Chad just realize that he's not a freaking prophet. That doesn't count when you can make your prophecies come true by, performing the acts or committing the acts or conspiring to commit the acts. That doesn't count, Chad. And we still hate your books. P.S. I did tell that to the reporter last night, and I was like, "Oh, and just please put this in there." I was like, "I hate your books, Chad." We all do. We all hate your books. I was like, "You just gotta get them in the ego." Right? Kill that damn ego, boy. That way they can, fall down off that pedestal that they've put themselves on. Humble yourself, you know? Oh, yeah, I had made all kinds of things in my Canva app last night, and one of them was a bus. Damn mosquitoes. I think it'll be different, Kristen, because I think I mean, just from with the jury selection and everything, and as much as he's like sandpaper, where, you know what I mean? He just rubs us all the wrong way. He's on the wrong side of the team, already. But I mean, I'm just saying, out of all the attorneys, out of everything, I think that Chad has the best attorney. Just saying. I don't like him. I don't like who he defends. But if it were me, I'd pick him. I just have to wear some earplugs. But what was I gonna say? I forgot. Oh, about the opening statements. I think it's gonna John Pryor from jury selection, it seemed like the angle and the analogies and the scenarios that he was throwing out there were what glitter and whatever, all the things he said. Um, and he was more of the angle like Chad just basically couldn't keep it in his pants. And I'm just like, no, they're on his property too. Uh-uh. Nice try though, whatever. I remember my first beer, you know what I mean? Wow. So it'll be interesting. I am in a Normandy Lake Cove and I have your voice echoing through here. Girl, I'm sorry. So sorry for that. Hey, Leo, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome to Difficult Research. Hey, if you can help or if you want to help, the best way to do that is to just hit the subscribe button, click it to all, like it, share it. I don't know. Everybody's welcome. It's difficult research, yo. I share it. We share it with each other. Me too. Spread love, not hate. Both sides openings, yes. I mean, I almost if we wouldn't have had a storm come through here this morning and scare the shit out of me, I was gonna stream the uh opening statements for Lori in its entirety before this, but yeah, that it threw a wrench in everything. I'm still just trying to, oh, get my damn heart back. Right. I believe I would like South Carolina. I am in New Jersey. Oh, really? You in Jersey? You a Jersey girl or boy? I don't even know. I believe I would like South Carolina. I'm in New Jersey, which I think is like armpit of America. It just reminds me of Jersey Shore, right? Straight up. The turnpike, you know. I used to watch the hell out of some MTV. Wonder how many seconds will pass before the judge tells prior to speaking to the microphone. Please, somebody, I'm telling you, he needs to swallow. He needs to have a microphone implant and just keep it on and then shock him, maybe. I don't know. They are filing into the courtroom. Thank you, Robin. Thank you. Awesome. It's go time, y'all. It's go time. Is there anybody live feeding, have live feed from outside the courtroom? Do y'all know? Um, I didn't even think to ask earlier. I should have. We're going to get this down. Trust me. We're going to be some professionals. Never. In your deep diving, how much do you think Chad and Lori know about the bigger picture, as in the Mormons who have gone rogue? You mean the second comers? Well, um, I think Chad knows more than Lori. I think Lori, and I mean, I don't, this is not me like saying, I, I don't ever forgive them for what they did. Okay. So just know that I don't condone what they did. No, I just don't hate, I just detached a long time ago. But in this and just looking at it through that lens, through that, with that question, hey, Tracy, um, I think that Chad knows a little more. But he's still not up there with the big dogs, if you know what I mean, like the elites or whatever, the Tim Ballards. They just kinda, I think they use people like Chad and Lori, and they exploit their feelings, it's like Lori wanted to cheat, obviously. She had cheating in her heart. She had a murderous heart, right? She did. She said she did not have a murderous heart, but she in fact has a murderous heart. We can just check that box, right? Yes, ma'am, you do. Projection. So, um, I think they just kind of prey on that, and that's kind of what this whole polygamy thing does, you know what I mean? Especially if you're doing it, I gotta scratch my back with a brush. Especially if, your church leaders are letting you inside the temple and perhaps, probably, according to James and Elena's story, there's an officiant there that sealed you together. So I think that's pretty shitty on itself, right? Just right there. If that would have never happened, if they wouldn't have been paired up and coupled up, then, where would we be today? I'm not saying that she still wouldn't have cheated and he wouldn't have cheated. Um, I think that would have happened for sure. Because they're not happy. They weren't happy in their marriages for sure. Or with themselves even. That's been very apparent. Look here, not here. Yeah. And it's sad. It really is because this spiritual wifery, this modern day polygamy is still being practiced. Can you imagine? Just pretend you had your own church, okay? A church of you. And inside this church of you, you couldn't become part of the village, okay? Unless you denounced this strong, uh, revelation from God that you're to practice polygamy. So you denounce that so you can become part of the village people. So you can, have the kind of have the shared benefits and everything of participating, basically Utah became a state, right? And that's how they had to do that. They had to denounce polygamy. And so I think they did, and they were like this behind their back. They were like, "Oh yeah, we denounce it." No polygamy, wink, wink, because that's a lot of doublespeak that I see over and over and over again. Chad was a priesthood holder, though. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Bewitched, it does, right? Mm. Oh, yeah. Oh, I keep trying to put my glasses on. But, so, I mean, who else? Again, and I've had to, like, kinda dig and extract the information. Yeah. I mean, in this sense, I've worked my ass off from not knowing anything to being like, "Second anointing, what the hell is that?" Okay, I understand that, yes, I mean, people who do know about it, either inside or outside the church, they have their own, like, they have, like, their own, expectations or, I don't really know how to word that, their own perception or perspective of how it's supposed to go, and when you get to the bottom of that, it's a secret ceremony that takes place in its own congregation, and most of its members, usually outside the temple for sure, because there's church and then there's temple. They're totally different. You can't go to both from the public. You can't just go up and knock on the door at the temple and be like, "Hey, what's up?" No, I mean, and Lori talked about, when she was testifying or whatever the hell with Melanie Gibb on that podcast or whatever that recording was, and if he comes at you once, if he comes at you twice, if he comes at you 3 times, there it is, it's in the scriptures. She did not have a murderer's heart. But then she's like, she says that she went to her bishop and she was like, "All right, are you gonna give me my temple recommend or I'm gonna commit murder?" I mean, what the hell? First off. So it's worth, like, murder or getting in to the celestial room. So, you couldn't even laugh at the time, right? Now you can laugh in the celestial room, but anyways, I'm just saying, it's like it's like a really dangerous Mean Girls club, you know? It's really crazy. But because people lie and because I would say people are most likely not going to denounce their belief in God, which they equate to basically Joseph Smith, you know? He's allegedly, Joseph Smith is equal to Jesus, if not above. That's just me. That's my opinion. I know not for everybody, but when people say he was martyred, I'm just like, "What? Okay, mm-mm. He's a man. He's a man. He put his pants on the same way me and you do, just like the Pope. He's just a man. He's not special. Just like the leaders of the church, they're men. They are and they're fallible. They are fallible right now. I mean, mm-mm, no, and that's just the really scary part. I know people kill over their beliefs, we're here because of that. So, I think it's just really unfair also, and it really bothers me that people distance when they're retelling, like, some people who maybe YouTube creator, whomever it may be, whomever is telling this story, you can't tell this story without bringing the religion into it, the church. Chad he was an active, both of them. Him and Lori, all of them. They were all active members. They were going around to different temples. That is court record, FBI agent. Let that be known. And I mean, I'd already kind of figured out that they had gotten sealed that November of 2018, according to that infamous Reddit email, right? That's not infamous, and or a Reddit email. It was sent to Nate Eaton by Melanie Gibb Sue. And she talked about all the weird Moroni, Lori was their favorite wife, and I'm like, "That's polygamy right there, boom." You just don't know those keywords right away. You don't know the buzzwords. I didn't. I was like, "What? What? Portal?" Then I realized that portal guy, I'm looking for portal guy because I'd heard that Julie Rowe and Chad Daybell were meeting with portal guy, an old guy in Salt Lake City to, teach them how to portal, and I was like, frick is a portal? First off, okay? What the hell is that? And then you're like, in a closet? And I mean, anyways, I can't get through it without laughing because it's so stupid. Thank you so much, Elbug. Thank you. Appreciate you. That means so much to me. It really does. I love you guys. I do. I know. I know. Yeah, when I watched Hidden True Crime the other night and with the Barbara lady, Barbara Brown, I think her name was, and they were replaying some of the Julie Rose stuff, right? And I mean, I've watched it so many times. I just haven't watched it in a long time, though. I can say that. Thank God. I mean, this stuff is just boring. And I mean, unless you're really looking for something, and that's what I was doing. I was all ears. And I'm like, "Wait, what?" And so you pick up on the lingo, right? But anyway, so there's Julie Rowe, and she's saying that she did an interview with Nate Eaton, right before the kids were found right before the kids were found. And I told Jason that. I was like, "Ah," so he's just sitting on that, you know? Yeah, it just ah, and I think, when I watched, Nate, explain that about Julie Rowe, that he somebody had asked a question, and, about the interview with Julie Rowe, and he said that, yeah, he did, just right out the gate, and I was like, "Okay, confirmed." And then it's like but he said that then the kids' bodies were found, and then it was pretty much just irrelevant, and I'm just like, "To whom?" Mm, it's relevant, I don't have that kind of privilege or how do you word that, this isn't just, clicks and views or popularity or I don't know how to say it. I'm not being rude. I'm not trying to be. I'm just trying to be as straightforward as I can be. It's hard to explain, but it's like people can just sit there and be like, "Oh, yeah, it's not relevant content anymore." I beg to differ. At least offer it privately. You know what I mean? Oh, I still got to get that recording from mom. Mom had told me this. Oh my god, this was last year in Boise. She told me this, so it's been a whole damn year. But she had told me that she has a recording of Melanie Gibb just, between the 2 of them, I guess. We're a one-party state. But, and she was like, "I don't get it." She was like, "You can look at it and see if you can find anything from it." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah." But then here we are. I just remembered. Oh, hey, Bo Peep, just chill, relax, relax. You're not missing anything yet. And I mean, all you gotta really do is listen because chat ain't gonna do nothing exciting. At least Lori, gave facial expressions and rolled her eyes and turned her chair. Whatever attorney she wasn't pissed off at is who she leaned closer to. Oh, Cara D. Who, uh, yeah, it's tough. It's so nuts. It's nuts. I appreciate y'all being here, though. I really do. I think that's when a lot of you guys picked up on all this, right? Is whenever, Nadine's important interview, important, good reporter, good reporting in that sense. I mean, I'm sure he had heads up and things like that. That's what they do. Um, that's their job, and I appreciate their job, especially when they can do it ethically and but again, it so borders. There's a thin line, because I mean, I'm all about reporting on it. I'm all about sharing their stories, but then there's those that go too far with it, and I'm just like, not telling the story right. And I know it's a big story. I know it's hard to keep up with all the things, but um, and then exploitation it burns my ass. And I didn't know I even had these strong feelings about, like I'm anti-corruption. I've learned that along the way. I'm anti-murder for sure. I'm anti uh exploitation. I can't stand it. It bothers me to my core. So I don't know if I was like that before this and I just never had to delve there. Uh, yeah. Ah. Sorry. Mm, let me mute myself so I can cough. All right. I'm sorry about that. Uh, I'm gonna go and I mean it's not on the TV either. I have it on the TV too, but I'm just checking it out. Oh yeah, I want to fix my quality. I don't even know if I should. I'm glad I don't go higher than 720 right now. But for you at home or watching on your devices, to make the picture a little bit better, go to the highest quality setting that you have. It makes a big difference. So, um, I do stream in 1080. I just, my internet keeps dipping in and out, and I don't know if it's because of the storm, literally, that we had this morning, or if it's just my luck. 1080. Hey, it's just Robbie. I'm so glad you're here. You started following, whoa, the first news report in Boise. I think it was November 2019. It was, December 22nd, 2019. That was when it was announced by the FBI or the Rexburg Police Department because it was my daughter's birthday and we went to Casa Mañana, which is a Mexican restaurant we have here, and it was her birthday. And I mean, I remember Mom and Larry, like, having to dip out, and go to their truck and, like, grab a microphone or, a recorder, and they're on the phone, I think, with, like, Rich Robertson, I think is who s something like that. I don't know for sure, so don't come at me. Just saying. Don't I don't remember a whole year pretty much because it was so traumatizing. It was so fast, and it was a lot to process at one time. My uncle had been murdered at that point. I mean, that shocked me right there. That thing back there is like looks like I have antennas. Yes, they were oh, I'm glad y'all are okay in Houston or anybody that was in the pathway of not the damn eclipse, but the damn storm. Zuzu, we're watching you too. Please, y'all. I hope like hell that Melanie Gibbs shows up whenever it's time for her to testify. Please let her show up in a disguise. Please. I'm like, oh, please. What? Oh my God, y'all. She thinks she don't follow herself, but oh, a whole disguise. She had a plaid shirt, looked like she was going fishing in a long skirt with a hat and everything, a fisherman, the round hats or whatever. I'm like, this hooker right here, she just thinks she is special. Hey, Isabel, how are you? I'm so glad to see you. I miss you. I hope you're doing good. Bonjour, ma belle Krisha. Thinking of you and your family for this big trial and send you my prayer. So finally, justice is being done for the kids, Tammy, and all of you and Tammy's family. Oh, thank you for I just took a deep breath. So thank you. I needed to hear that from you. And I really do appreciate all that you invested and contributed. Um, like KJ says, justice through understanding. I never realized how important that expression would be. But I pretty much incorporated it, KJ. I hope you're okay with that. um, it's hard. It's like it takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to go through this. And I mean, I think that it just makes me so proud. um, because I know that Kylie and I mean, and I'm just speaking from, my perspective, as far as the family members go. I think that Tylee, JJ, and my Uncle Charles, I think that they deserve the best. And, I mean, when it goes public, when stories go public, it's scary. You're just like, "What?" It's a whole other dimension, that you nobody can prepare you for that. Nobody. Um, there's so many opinions and, perspectives and ulterior motives. Everybody has a different perspective, different understanding of what everything is. Murder, justice, holding people accountable. I mean, some exploitation. Some people are okay with that, as long as it's banking in their bank accounts. And I'm just like, what the hell? And I mean, it just is so many things that you can use as a family member or somebody who has a missing person. Um, and anyways, you use social media as a tool. It's just another tool, which is neat because they didn't have this back then, you know? And so, but you have to be careful because then you look at cases like Summer Wells. You look at cases like what's happening with Sebastian and so many others, so many others, and different levels. There's different levels too. I'm not doing a tiered system or anything, so don't expect that from me. No Eric Smith up in here, okay? But I'm just saying it's like, whew, it's interesting because it can really help you, and it does really help you. Social media, everybody can just share it. It's all around the entire world, and everybody is an extension of that platform, of that voice, amplifies it, just to get the word out there, raise the awareness, look for these people. Um, and that's why, I mean, I was so intimidated at first because I didn't want to be public. I didn't want to, because I wanted, it was, because then it starts getting complicated because everybody's trying to figure out the dynamics of the family instead of paying attention to what is important at that time. And that is your missing person. It's not about who's who, not at that point. So, I mean, to me, it meant everything that Mom and Larry were the representatives, so to speak, not just for them, but for our family too. That way, we all hung back. I don't know if y'all kind of noticed that. And maybe we didn't. Maybe I just think we did. But from what I remember, I think we all just kind of hung back until after the kids were found. Then we kind of crept out a little bit. Mm, but I'm so glad to have you here, Isabel, Izzy. So glad. Man, we've worked so hard, y'all. Oh, and it's not about us, but still, I mean, it's some hard ass work, and they're worth it. They're worth it. But just, I mean, like I said, or I was going to say about, I feel like my family members, the victims at the heart of this story, and even, I have to say Tammy and Joe too, because I didn't know them. I did not know them before this. I still don't know them, but through this tragedy and just, I mean, I feel like they're part of my life, like I can never like I could never just sit here and just be like Tylee, Charles, and JJ. I have to say Joe, I have to say Tammy because it's like, wow, we're all in this together, and anyways, I've come to love them and um I just want to honor them too. Um anyways, but it just really restored my faith in humanity again, just to see how people come together because there's a pretty, I mean, not a pretty, but a beautiful side of humanity that comes together from communities such as this, opportunities such as this. Um, and they're important because it does help those that are grieving the losses of their family members who die untimely deaths because of murder. It's not pretty. It never will be pretty. Um, I used to wanna do that. I used to be like, "I just wanna put whatever I find in the research, you know? I just wanna say it effectively," is basically what I'm saying, but I always said that I just wanna put it into a box with a pretty little bow on the top and say, "Here." But that's just I learned that that's just not how that works. So, I'm not a good fluent speaker. I will never do a TED Talk. But and I mean, that's just been my thing in this is just trying to understand it enough to even effectively communicate what I'm finding, you know, and it but then it sounds so crazy too. It's not mine though. I don't believe these things, but it's where it brings me. You can't that's what these people do. Secret societies or the Gaddy Anton robbers. I was listening to Agent Hart testifying in Lori's trial right before I came on here. I mean, it just was playing in the background and talked about Rachel Smith asked him about what was it? The secret combinations, right? No, Donna. I knew that would get your attention. Donna said, "You will give a TED talk. It'll be after hours." Right. Anyway, um, uh, but where was I going with that? Oh, y'all, I'm sorry. Didn't sleep last night. A little traumatized this morning from the storm. The damn storm traumatizes the shit out of me. Mhm. Oh, what was I saying though? Mm, oh, something about the best in humanity. I mean, because I think that Tylee and JJ and Charles, for sure, that's my family. I believe that they deserve the best, and then God's like, "Here you go," you know? And I mean, here you are. And I think it's important because you guys and then, like, KJ, when she and Mr. Wayne drove all the way down from Tennessee to Lake Charles, Louisiana, and hung out with us, and, um, you know, they weren't, like, prying people, invasive, intrusive, they weren't like that, you know? They were very respectful, and I don't know, I just really appreciate, um, and respect that. I really love that, and but KJ is really open and wants to she's curious, you know, and she asks the best questions, but then sometimes I'm like, "I don't even know how to answer that." You know, like, I haven't thought of that or, you know, it but I love that. It makes me think. And that's how this kinda works for me, to go watch KJ all these years, you know, and just even before, you know, um, I'd show up in the chat. I just wanna be a regular chatter, you know? What I have to say is it more important than anybody else's comments or opinions, and, I mean, um, but then there was a point, you know, when I was wanting to say stuff and, you know, I would be in, like, "It's a Crime" chat, you know, and there's, like it's flying by and I don't even know, that you can, like, tag the people like, you know, everybody's, handle names and everything. I'm just like, "Oh, what?" It's just so weird how this has evolved so fast. So many things to learn, so many platforms. I mean, I have Reddit because of this. I have Twitter because of it, or X. I already had Facebook, but Substack, YouTube, right? And I'm just like, "Oh my god." And I still don't know it all. Mm, okay. Thank you. Thank you, me. Just forget. All right. Nate News Now, Fremont County Prosecutor Lindsay Blake, Madison County Prosecutor Rob Wood, Special Prosecutor Ingrid Beatty, Fremont County Deputy, oh, that's too many freaking titles. Prosecutor Rocky Wixom and Defense Attorney John Pryor just walked in. Pryor whispered something in a Daybell's ear. A brown, cheeky brown cow. Right. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Nate. Yeah, I'm watching. I have Hidden True Crime right there. Damn slug, right? Damn, you nailed it. What? Mm, Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, thank you, Robin. Totally. I hope this prosecution brings all the women Chad claimed to be married to in past lives. And then go round up Tom Harrison. Okay. Go round him up. Crap, my candle. I'm so sorry if that just busted y'all's eardrums. That's like my little hurricane candle. Knocked it over. See? Anyways, my bad. Go wrangle up this dude. Okay. Because he likes to go to Thanksgiving Point there with Tim, Ken Krogh, with. Okay, shit. All right. I'll be in the chat. Oh my God, it's go time. Woohoo. Okay, I'm not doing it anymore. Yes, let's do this shit.
Expand it.
All right, good morning, everyone. We're on the record now on Fremont County case CR 22-21-1623, State of Idaho versus Chad Guy Daybell. Let me confirm with our tech people and clerks here, is the broadcast on? Yeah. Thank you. The court will note that as we get started, there is a courtroom conduct order in effect that you've all been advised. Please pay attention to the terms of that order, including making sure you don't have any devices that would go off and interrupt proceedings. No recording within this courtroom or photography of any type. The court is providing public access through the open proceedings as well as the live stream that's being conducted. With the court's live stream, we have, I think, good technology in place to accomplish that. If something comes up that interrupts the live broadcast of this trial, and this will be throughout the trial, we'll give an opportunity to try to get that started again. However, if there's going to be any kind of significant delay in the live stream broadcast, the court will be continuing on with the proceedings. So there may be gaps in that, but I think our technology is in place that hopefully that won't occur. But just so those listening in understand, if it does come up, we likely will not pause the trial longer than necessary to make that accommodation. At this time, I'll note also for the benefit of counsel, we do have all 18 jurors, our 12 jurors with 6 alternates have arrived this morning, and everyone has submitted their juror affirmation sheet regarding following the court's admonishment while they've been gone. No issues to bring up on the affirmations of the jurors. So with that in mind, then let me go to the state, noting the state is here present. Is the state ready to proceed this morning?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
Thank you. Is the defense ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, thanks, counsel. All right, before we bring the jurors in, which we'll do very shortly here, I also, as we are getting started and before the jurors are sworn and we take evidence, is there, I believe we've already had a motion to exclude witnesses. Let me just clarify on the record, is there going to be a motion to exclude witnesses through evidence portion of the trial made by the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very well. The court will reaffirm then there has been a motion to exclude witnesses. So as the state begins with its case in chief, keep that in mind that they are not permitted to observe the trial proceedings, including the live stream. The only exception would be for a witness if they statutorily qualify as a victim, then they are permitted to observe the proceedings. So each witness is going to be questioned whether or not they've observed any trial proceedings, and I would instruct the state and then following the defense, if they have witnesses, to make sure that the exclusionary rule is followed. Does the state have any questions on that matter?
Your Honor, the state would just clarify and just make counsel in the court aware. It's the state's understanding that through the Constitution and statutorily, victims have a right to remain in the courtroom throughout the proceedings, regardless of whether or not they are victims. And we have discussed that with defense counsel and made the court aware of who we think there may be a crossover with, meaning individuals that may be present and also witnesses. But statutorily, they would have the right to be here. So including any of the defendant's children, as well as, since they were Tammy's children, as well as siblings, sometimes grandparents. The court made a ruling last year in the Lori Vallow case. I think if we're following a similar guideline, those are the individuals that we would just note for the record may be present at times, but should have the right to be present throughout the proceedings. In addition, I would just note for the record that we do have our case agent who will be present for the duration of the proceedings, and that's Chief Deputy Vince Kaikamani.
Okay, and the state's permitted their case agent as it relates to victims. The court agrees they are permitted to see the proceedings, including if they are a witness. We would take up on a witness by witness basis whether or not they fall within the statutory qualifications permitting that. And I know the state's aware of the issue. We'll make rulings tested as to whether or not they would qualify and later called to testify. Mr. Pryor from the defense, any further comment or questions on the exclusionary ruling?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. All right, this time then we will have the jurors brought in.
Yes, sir. All rise.
Oh, the jury's present and accounted for.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bale. Please be seated. All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. We're on the record on Fremont County case CR 22-21-1623, State of Idaho versus Chad Daybell. We're ready to proceed with opening arguments and initial instructions this morning to you as jurors. The court notes that the prosecution is present as well as the defendant and the defense attorney representing him as well. We have qualified this panel of 18 jurors consisting of our 12 jurors with 6 alternates, and they are now seated for trial. Let me start with the state and ask, will the state agree that the jury has now been properly seated and ready to be sworn?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
Will the defense agree as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you for returning this morning. You're now seated as jurors in the case before us. As previously been told, I'm Stephen W. Boyce, the District Judge of Fremont County in charge of this courtroom trial. I'll briefly reintroduce you to some of our court personnel assisting here today. Shannon Holstein, seated to my right, is the clerk who is keeping minutes of the trial proceedings, will be marking trial exhibits and administering oaths to you as jurors and to the witnesses. We do have our courtroom bailiffs as well who assist with keeping order in the courtroom and helping the jury move about where they're supposed to throughout the day, and then enforcing any conduct orders we have in effect here for the trial. Our court reporter today, Amy Bland, is taking a stenographic record of everything said during the trial proceedings, and my staff attorney, Courtney Stallings, seated to the far right, who assists me with legal research and administrative matters that come up throughout each day of trial. Each one of you has been qualified, examined, and selected to serve as a juror of this court. The clerk will now have a roll call of our seated jurors. Please, Madam Clerk, if you would conduct the roll call. As to each juror, once your juror number is announced, please just indicate present or here verbally so we acknowledge that on the record. Madam Clerk.
Juror 27, present. Juror 219,
Here.
juror 505,
Here.
juror 631.
Here.
Juror 653.
Here.
Juror 686,
Present.
juror 752,
Present.
juror 1680, present. Juror 823,
Here.
juror 1358,
Here.
juror 1365, yeah. Juror 716, yeah. Juror 751,
Here.
juror 997,
Here.
juror 1078, juror 1577, yeah. Juror 1271, juror 1382, present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This case has been brought by the state of Idaho. I'll sometimes refer to the state as the prosecution. State is here represented in this trial by Lindsay Blake, Fremont County prosecutor. Ms. Blake, could you please stand briefly? Also, Rob Wood is the Madison County prosecutor. Ingrid Beatty is a special assistant prosecutor. And Rocky Wixom is a Fremont County deputy prosecutor. The defendant in this case, Mr. DAYBELL'S, is represented by his attorney, John Carter. Thank you, counsel. In a few moments, the clerk will read you a redacted version of the amended indictment in this case. That document is not to be considered as evidence. It sets forth the charges against the defendant. You must not consider it as evidence of guilt and not be influenced by the fact that charges have been filed. Mr. Daybell has pled not guilty to the charges contained in the amended indictment. And please remember, again, it's a description of charges. It is not evidence. Under our law and system of justice, every defendant is presumed to be innocent. This means two things. First, the state has the burden of proving the defendant guilty. The state has that burden throughout the trial. The defendant is never required to prove his innocence, nor does the defendant ever have to produce any evidence at all. Second, the state must prove the alleged crimes beyond a reasonable doubt. A reasonable doubt is not a mere possible or imaginary doubt. It is a doubt based on reason and common sense. It may arise from a careful and impartial consideration of all the evidence or from a lack of evidence. If after considering all the evidence you have a reasonable doubt about the defendant's guilt, you must find the defendant not guilty. The duty of the jury is to determine the facts and then apply the law set forth in the instructions I will later give you to those facts. In this way, you will decide the case. In applying the court's instructions as to the controlling law, you must follow those instructions regardless of your opinion of what the law is or what the law should be or what any lawyer may state the law to be. During this course of the trial, including opening statements, you're instructed that you are not to discuss this case among yourselves or with anyone else, including using the internet or social media or any other form of communication, electronic or otherwise. Do not conduct any personal investigation or look up any information from any source, including the internet. And do not form an opinion as to the merits of the case until after the case has been submitted to you for your determination. The court's given you that instruction now multiple times, and I will continue to give you that instruction. And again, that's not because I don't think you're not paying attention. It's just important enough. We'll keep reiterating that. And I will note we received the juror affirmations today from each of the jurors indicating they have followed that instruction. So thank you for that. At this time then, the next matter we'll take up is to have this jury placed under oath for trial. At this time then, Madam Clerk, if you're ready to administer the oath, I'll have the jurors stand and be placed under oath. When you stand, then please raise your right hands.
You solemnly swear or affirm that you will try the cause now on trial and a true verdict rendered here and according to the law and the evidence, so help you God.
All right, thank you. Please be seated. All right, the jurors have already been advised of some of our trial procedures in this case, and I'll just give you some additional general information here. Our normal schedule is to run trial from 8:30 each day until 3:30. At times that will need to be modified for certain reasons. Sometimes we have matters to be argued outside of your presence. Sometimes during the recesses, they may seem to go long because we're conducting other court business outside of your presence. But we will take recesses through the morning and also in the afternoon. If anyone is uncomfortable, needs a break or recess for some specific reason, please notify the bailiff and we'll do our best to accommodate each of you and keep you comfortable while you're here. In addition, if anyone has any kind of accommodations they need, for example, assistance with a hearing device, other matters, please notify the bailiff again, and we want to make sure you are as comfortable as you can be and able to be alert and attentive throughout the presentation of evidence in the case. These seats that you have been assigned to at this time will be your specific seat throughout the trial. Please return to that same assigned seat each day or after each break so that we are able to determine who's here and if someone's not for some reason, who's not here. If there are interruptions at times during the trial, I know that can be frustrating, but we'll work our best to keep those to a minimum, move the trial as long and as efficiently as possible, but at times it just takes time to hear motions that are necessary outside of your presence. And then the courtroom and your location for deliberations, as well as during the trial where you'll be held. We've provided, of course, access to restrooms and other needs you may have. I'll address your compensation here. State law allows you for $10 a day for your jury service. However, after 5 days, that bumps up to $40 a day. So this trial is expected to go some time. You'll likely get into that increased range of compensation, and that's pursuant to Idaho Code 2215. You're also entitled, I believe, to a mileage reimbursement for travel each day, and that can further be explained to you if you have any questions. Also, you may notice from time to time, or a lot of the time, I'm looking at monitors here during the trial. I do have case information here and availability to access and research things from the bench. And so if you notice me looking at those monitors, it's generally to assist me in trial issues that come up. At this time, then the court will provide the jury with some additional jury instructions. As I read through these, it's somewhat lengthy, and I will notify you that you don't have to necessarily memorize everything I'm saying. When the trial is concluded and you deliberate, you will have printed copies of these instructions to return to for reference. And if you'll give me just a moment here, I have a brief inquiry to make with my staff attorney. All right, thank you. Now that you've been sworn as jurors to try this case, I'll go over with you what will be happening. I will describe how the trial will be conducted and what we will be doing. At the end of the trial, I'll give you more detailed guidance on how you are to reach your decision. Because the state has the burden of proof, it goes first. After the state's opening statement, the defense may make an opening statement or may wait until the state has presented its case. The state will offer evidence that it says will support the charges against the defendant. The defense may then present evidence that is not required to do so. If the defense does present evidence, the state may then present rebuttal evidence. This is evidence offered to answer the defense's evidence. After you have heard all of the evidence, I'll give you additional instructions on the law. After you've heard the instructions, the state and the defense will each be given time for closing arguments. In their closing arguments, they will summarize the evidence to help you understand how it relates to the law. Just as the opening statements are not evidence, neither are the closing arguments. After the closing arguments, you will leave the courtroom together to make your decision. During your deliberations, you will have with you my instructions, the exhibits admitted into evidence, and any notes taken by you in court. The defendant is charged by the state of Idaho with a violation of law. The charges against the defendant are contained in the amended indictment. The amended indictment is simply a description of the charges. It is not evidence. Jury instruction number 3. The defendant, Chad Guy Daybell, has been charged in the amended indictment with certain counts of entering into a conspiracy with Lori Vallow Daybell and or Alex Cox and or other co-conspirators. The crime of conspiracy involves an agreement by 2 or more persons to commit a crime. You must only consider the evidence against the defendant, Chad Guy Daybell, in this case, and should not speculate as to any other case or legal proceedings involving any alleged co-conspirators. You must remember that the defendant, Chad Guy Daybell, has the presumption of innocence, and you must consider his guilt or innocence based solely on the evidence provided in this case. Instruction number 4. It is alleged that the crimes charged were committed on or about or on or between a certain date. If you find a crime was committed, the proof need not show that it was committed on that precise date. Instruction number 5. Under our law and system of justice, the defendant is presumed to be innocent. Presumption of innocence means 2 things. First, the state has the burden of proving the defendant guilty. The state has that burden throughout the trial. The defendant is never required to prove his innocence, nor does the defendant ever have to produce any evidence at all. Second, the state must prove the alleged crime beyond a reasonable doubt. A reasonable doubt is not a mere possible or imaginary doubt. It is a doubt based on reason and common sense. It may arise from a careful and impartial consideration of all the evidence or from lack of evidence. If after considering all the evidence you have a reasonable doubt about the defendant's guilt, you must find the defendant not guilty. Jury instruction number 6. A defendant in a criminal trial has a constitutional right not to be compelled to testify. The decision whether to testify is left to the defendant, acting with the advice and assistance of the defendant's lawyer. You must not draw any inference of guilt from the fact that the defendant may not testify, nor should this fact be discussed by you or enter into your deliberations in any way. Jury instruction number 7. If during the trial I may say or do anything which suggests to you that I am inclined to favor the claims or positions of any party, you will not permit yourself to be influenced by any such suggestion. I will not express nor intend to express, nor will I intend to intimate any opinion as to which witnesses are or are not worthy of belief, what facts are or are not established, or what inferences should be drawn from the evidence. If any expression of mine seems to indicate an opinion relating to any of these matters, I will instruct you to disregard it. Jury instruction number 8. Your duties are to determine the facts, to apply the law set forth in my instructions to those facts, and in this way to decide the case. In doing so, you must follow my instructions regardless of your own opinion of what the law is or should be, or what either side may state the law to be. You must consider them as a whole, not picking out one and disregarding others. The order in which the instructions are given has no significance as to their relative importance. The law requires that your decision be made solely upon the evidence before you. Neither sympathy nor prejudice should influence you in your deliberations. Faithful performance by you of these duties is vital to the administration of justice. In determining the facts, you may consider only the evidence admitted in this trial. This evidence consists of the testimony of the witnesses, the exhibits offered and received, and any stipulated or admitted facts. The production of evidence in court is governed by rules of law. At times during the trial, an objection may be made to a question asked a witness, or to a witness's answer, or to an exhibit. This simply means I'm being asked to decide a particular rule of law. Arguments on the admissibility of evidence are designed to aid the court and are not to be considered by you nor affect your deliberations. If I sustain an objection to a question or to an exhibit, the witness may not answer the question, or the exhibit may not be considered. Do not attempt to guess what the answer might have been or what the exhibit might have shown. Similarly, if I tell you not to consider a particular statement or exhibit, you should put it out of your mind and not refer to it or rely on it in your later deliberations. During the trial, I may have to talk with the parties about the rules of law which should apply to this case. Sometimes that will occur over on the corner there, and we do have a device here that whites out the noise so you can't hear us speaking there. At other times, I'll excuse you from the courtroom so that you can be comfortable while we work out any problems with evidence. You are not to speculate about any such discussions. They are necessary from time to time to help the trial run more smoothly. Some of you have probably heard the terms circumstantial evidence, direct evidence, and hearsay evidence. Do not be concerned with these terms. You are to consider all the evidence admitted in this trial. However, the law does not require you to believe all of the evidence. As the sole judges of the facts, you must determine what evidence you believe and what weight you attach to it. There is no magical formula by which one may evaluate testimony. You bring with you to this courtroom all the experience and background of your lives. In your everyday affairs, you determine for yourselves whom you believe, what you believe, and how much weight you attach to what you are told. The same considerations that you use in your everyday dealings in making these decisions are the considerations which you must apply in your deliberations. In deciding what you believe, do not make your decisions simply because more witnesses may have testified one way than the other. Your role is to think about the testimony of each witness you heard and decide how much you believe of what the witness had to say. A witness who has special knowledge in a particular matter may give an opinion on that matter. In determining the weight to be given such an opinion, you should consider the qualifications and credibility of the witness and the reasons given for the opinion. You are not bound by such opinion. Give it the weight, if any, to which you deem it entitled. Jury instruction number 9, at the conclusion of the trial, you will decide as to each charge whether the state has proved the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. The subject of penalty or punishment is not to be discussed or considered by you in making these decisions. That is a matter which must not in any way affect your verdict. Jury instruction number 10. The state is seeking the death penalty in this case. If the defendant is convicted of murder in the first degree, there will then be a separate sentencing phase of the trial. At that sentencing phase, additional evidence may be presented and the jury will be given additional instructions. At the conclusion of that hearing, the jury will then decide if the defendant will be sentenced to death. If the jury decides that the defendant will not be sentenced to death, either the defendant will be sentenced to a term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, or the judge will sentence the defendant to a term of life imprisonment during which the defendant could not be paroled for at least 10 years and possibly for life. Jury instruction number 11. If you wish, you may take notes to help you remember what witnesses said. If you do take notes, please keep them to yourself until after you and your fellow jurors go to the jury room to decide the case. You should not let note-taking distract you so that you do not hear other answers by witnesses. When you leave at night, you'll leave your notes here with the bailiffs. If you do not take notes, you should rely on your own memory of what was said and not be overly influenced by the notes of other jurors. In addition, you cannot assign one person the duty of taking notes for all of you. Jury instruction number 12. It is important that as jurors and officers of this court, you obey the following instructions at any time you leave the jury box, whether it be for recesses of the court during the day or when you leave the courtroom to go home at night. First, do not talk about the case among yourselves or with anyone else during the course of the trial. You should keep an open mind throughout the trial and not form or express an opinion about the case. You should only reach your decision after you have heard all the evidence, after you've heard my final instructions, and after the final arguments. You may discuss this case with the other members of the jury only after it is submitted to you for your decision. All such discussions should take place in the jury room. Second, do not let any person talk about the case in your presence. If anyone does talk about it to you, tell them you're a juror of the case. If they won't stop talking, then report that to the bailiff or courtroom staff here as soon as you're able to do that. You should not tell your fellow jurors about what has happened. Third, during this trial, do not talk with any of the parties, their lawyers, or any witnesses. By this, I mean not only do not talk about the case, but do not talk at all, even to pass the time of day. In no other way can all parties be assured of the fairness they are entitled to expect from those jurors. Fourth, during this trial, do not make any investigation of this case or inquiry outside of the courtroom on your own. Do not go to any place mentioned in the testimony without an order of the court to do so. You must not consult any books, records, internet, or any other source of information unless I specifically authorize you to do so. Fifth, do not read about the case in the newspapers. Do not listen to radio or television broadcasts about the trial. You must base your verdict solely on what is presented in court and not upon any newspaper, radio, television, or other media account of what may have happened. Each day you will be required, as I mentioned, to sign an affirmation that you will follow this admonition of the court. That concludes the court's first instructions then, and as I mentioned, you will be provided copies of those when you deliberate for further reference. Next, at this time, then, I am going to have the clerk read the amended and redacted indictment to you. Madam Clerk, if you're ready to read the amended indictment, please do that at this time.
In the District Court of the 7th Judicial District of the State of Idaho and in Florida County of Fremont. State of Idaho plaintiff versus Chad Daybell defendant, case number CR 22211623, amended indictment. Chad Daybell is accused by the grand jury of Fremont County of this indictment as follows. Count 1, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and grand theft by deception. The defendants, Chad Daybell and/or Lori Norrie-Vallow and/or Alex Cox, deceased, and/or other co-conspirators, both known and unknown, on or between the dates of October 26, 2018, and continuing until January 15, 2020, in the county of Madison, state of Idaho, and elsewhere, including Fremont County, Idaho, and as part of the continuing criminal transaction and common scheme or plan in Madison and Fremont counties, Idaho, did willfully and knowingly combine, conspire, confederate, and agree to commit murder in first degree of Tylee Ryan and to commit grand theft by deception. Count 2, first degree murder. The defendant, Chad Daybell, on or between the 8th and 9th day of September 2019 in the county of Madison, state of Idaho, and as part of a common scheme or plan for continuing criminal transactions in Madison and Fremont counties in Idaho, were concerned in the commission of a first-degree murder and did aid and abet in its commission, or not being present, advised and encouraged its commission, or by command compelled another to commit the crime, and did so with malice aforethought, and did so willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation, which resulted in the death of a human being, to wit, either kill Tylee Ryan and/or assist in the killing of Tylee Ryan, and/or did encourage the killing of Tylee Ryan, and/or did command another to kill Tylee Ryan in violation of Idaho. Count 3, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and grand theft by deception. The defendants, Chad Guy Daybell and or Lori Noreen Vallow and or Alex Cox, deceased, and or other co-conspirators, both known and unknown, on or between the dates of October 26, 2018, and continuing until January 15, 2020. Excuse me. In the County of Madison, State of Idaho, and elsewhere, including Fremont County, Idaho, and as part of a continuing criminal transaction and common scheme or plan in Madison and Fremont counties, Idaho, that willfully and knowingly combine, conspire, confederate, and agree to commit murder in the first degree of Joshua Jackson Vallow, hereinafter J.J. Vallow, and to commit grand theft by deception. Count 4, first-degree murder. The defendant, Chad Guy Daybell, on or between the 8th and 9th day of September 2019, in the County of Madison, State of Idaho, and as part of a common scheme or plan for continuing criminal transactions between Madison and Fremont counties in Idaho, were concerned in the commission of a first-degree murder and did aid and abet in its commission, or not being present, advised and encouraged its commission, or by command compelled another to commit the crime, and did so with malice aforethought, and did so willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation, which resulted in the death of a human being. To wit, did either kill J.J. Vallow and or assist in the killing of J.J. Vallow, and or did encourage the killing of J.J. Vallow, and or did command another to kill J.J. Vallow in violation of Idaho code. Count 5, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. The defendants, Chad Guy Daybell and or Lori Noreen Vallow and or Alex Cox, deceased, and or other co-conspirators, both known and unknown, on or between the dates of October 26, 2018, and continuing until January 15, 2020, in the County of Fremont, State of Idaho, and elsewhere, including Madison County, Idaho, and as part of a continuing criminal transaction in common scheme or plan in Fremont and Madison counties, Idaho, did willfully and knowingly combine, conspire, confederate, and agree to commit murder in the first degree of Tammy Daybell, and did combine or conspire to commit murder, and one or more of such persons did enact to effect the object, combination, or conspiracy. Count 6, first-degree murder. The defendant, Chad Guy Daybell, on October 18 to 19, 2019, in the County of Fremont, State of Idaho, was concerned in the commission of first-degree murder and did aid and abet in its commission, or not being present, advised and encouraged its commission, or by command compelled another to commit the crime, and did so with malice aforethought, and did so willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation, which resulted in the death of a human being. To wit, did either kill Tammy Daybell and or assist in the killing of Tammy Daybell, and or did encourage the killing of Tammy Daybell, and or did command another to kill Tammy Daybell in violation of Idaho code. Count 7, insurance fraud. The defendant, Chad Guy Daybell, on or about October 19, 2019 through October 30, 2019, in the County of Madison, State of Idaho, did with the intent to defraud or deceive an insurer for the purpose of obtaining any money or benefit, insurer or other person, a statement as part of or in support of a claim for payment or benefit, knowing that such statement contained false, incomplete, or misleading information concerning any fact or thing material to such claim, to wit, that present and or cause to be presented an insurance beneficiary form to Life Map Assurance Company in violation of Idaho code. Count 9, insurance fraud. That the defendant, Chad Guy Daybell, on or about October 19, 2019 through October 31, 2019, in the County of Madison, State of Idaho, did with the intent to defraud or deceive an insurer for the purpose of obtaining any money or benefit, insurer or other person, a statement as part of or in support of a claim for payment or benefit, knowing that such statement contained false, incomplete, or misleading information concerning any fact or material thing to such claim. To wit, it present and or cause to be presented an insurance beneficiary form to Primerica Life Insurance Company in violation of Idaho code. Signed as a true bill on the 24th day of May, 2021, and signed by the deputy presiding grand juror, acting as presiding grand juror in Fremont County, state of Idaho. And to these charges, the defendant has entered a plea of not guilty.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Clerk, for reading the redacted amended indictment. In this case, again, I will advise the jurors, remember the indictment is a description of charges. It is not evidence. That concludes the court's opening instructions and reading of the indictment. The jury's been sworn as well. The next matter we would take up then are opening statements. We inquire of the state, is the state ready to proceed with openings?
Yes, Your Honor.
Who will be giving the opening statement?
I will remember.
Very well. Mr. Williams, you may present your opening.
Your Honor, may I inquire, is there a hand mic so that I may address the jury?
I think we do have one. Might take us a moment to get it over to you.
And then I do have a PowerPoint attached.
All right.
May I proceed your phone? Yes, it's for the HDMI. May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, you.
Two dead children buried in the defendant Chad Daybell's backyard in September of 2019. The next month, his wife is found dead in their marital bed. 17 days after the death of his wife, Tammy Daybell, this defendant is photographed laughing and dancing on a beach in Hawaii at his wedding. It's Lori Vallow, a woman who was his mistress and the mother of the children buried in the graves on his property. 3 dead bodies. This defendant believed he had a right beyond the ordinary. When he had a chance at what he considered his rightful destiny, he made sure that no person or no law would stand in his way. His desire for sex, money, and power led him to pursue those ambitions. And this pursuit led to the deaths of his wife and Lori's 2 innocent children. Chad Daybell is an author who wrote books about the apocalypse. During this trial, you will hear a story more troubling. And the story is real. Chapter 1. The defendant was a seemingly ordinary man. You'll see that he craved significance. He worked in journalism and he worked as a sexton in a graveyard. He married his wife Tammy in 1990 after meeting at Brigham Young University, and they settled in Utah. As a full-time homemaker and mother, Tammy's love for her family was boundless. Together, Tammy and the defendant started a small publishing company, which Tammy supported in many ways. They had 5 children together. They moved to Idaho, where Tammy became a beloved school librarian. She was devoted to service, her community, and her faith. But for this defendant, that ordinary existence was not enough. Chapter 2. Lori Vallow was a homemaker from Arizona. Your Honor, this mic just
Sorry, Mr. Let's see if we get a replacement mic.
I think I got it working now.
Okay,
I noticed that the PowerPoint is not up.
yeah, look, I think your mic's off. Yeah,
Okay, I didn't turn it off this time, so
you might have a bad battery. You want to confirm the screen as well?
Your Honor, it's up on the screen and it's plugged into the HDMI. I'm not sure why it's not transferred. I don't know if there's any one person out there with that.
Let's see if we can get some help to maybe see if we can get the signal to work on that.
Sorry. Can I proceed?
Yeah, but I'm still not sure on the mic. Is that mic working?
Check.
Okay, thanks.
Apologies for the interruption, ladies and gentlemen. Chapter 2. Lori Vallow was a homemaker from Arizona. She was married to her fourth husband, Charles Vallow, and she was the mother to Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow. Tylee was a normal, vibrant teenage girl. She loved her friends. You'll hear that she loved her Jeep. She loved Chipotle. She loved her little brother, JJ. JJ was a 7-year-old boy on the autism spectrum. He required extensive special care needs. He loved his sister. You'll hear about a pivotal date that set in motion the deaths of Tammy, Tylee, and JJ. October 26, 2018. That was a day when Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow met at a religious conference in St. George, Utah, where they were introduced by a mutual acquaintance. At this time, both still married to other spouses. That introduction set in motion the reality you're going to hear about. We know what happened next through the defendant's own words. You'll hear. Though both married, Chad and Lori began to have an affair. You will hear excerpts from the defendant's extended text messages to Lori that reveal his mindset and his motivations. In his thirst for sex, power, and money, Chad created an alternate reality where they called themselves James and Elena, names that Chad claimed were from past lives they had lived together. The defendant's text messages reveal their story of lust and their plan for a future together. Chad Daybell wrote that upon meeting Lori Vallow, he experienced a happiness unmatched by anything else in his 50 years. He was captivated by her appearance, so much so, he said she was out of his league. You will hear evidence in his own words, how he was taken by her beauty and spoke about their sexual encounters on many occasions. More than anything else, Chad's obsession with Lori was rooted in her adoration for him. She was the mirror reflecting the grandeur he saw in himself. He called her an exalted goddess. He told her in writing that she had returned to earth to perform a special mission. And part of that mission included being with him. They soon came together and turned their dreams into a plan for the future. One free from what they called obstacles, and those obstacles were Tylee, JJ, and Tammy. Chapter 3. You'll hear that in the world that Chad and Lori planned for themselves, they identified those who stood in the way of their dream as dark. Their spouses, Lori's own children, and any who opposed them were labeled sometimes as dark spirits or even zombies. This was more than an alleged belief of frightening labor. The evidence will show that it was a convenient narrative that dehumanized people who stood in their way and who were labeled as obstacles. This narrative gave them the pretext to remove people from this world for their own good. Chad and Lori preached that only through spiritual intervention, what they sometimes call casting, sometimes through burning, or even through death, could these dark spirits be cleansed. Enter Alex Cox, Lori's devoted brother. Chad and Lori manipulated Alex with promises of spiritual rewards. They wielded their influence over Alex, drawing him into their plotting and planning of their own future. After the deaths of Tylee, JJ, and Tammy, Chad Daybell gave Alex a blessing. This blessing was reported by Lori, who was present. And in that blessing, he said to Alex, "You have earned the privilege to be a member of their exclusive religious group." And he also said to him, "You have already assisted us in ways that can never be repaid." But you will also see other text messages. Chad and Lori discussed more earthly concerns, that Alex could be the one to implicate them. Alex knew this as well. Shortly before he died, on December 12th, 2019, he told his wife, Zulana Pastenis, who you will hear from. He was afraid he was going to be Chad and Lori's fall guy. Chapter 4. Once their calculated plan was devised, it only took months to execute and remove perceived obstacles in Chad Daybell's path to a new life. Charles Vallow, Lori's husband, who was labeled as dark by the defendant, was shot and killed by Alex Cox in Arizona. Lori stood to gain $1 million, money that could fund Chad and Lori's future. Yet following Charles's death, Lori Vallow awaited a $1 million life insurance payout that never came, only to learn that the beneficiary was no longer her. Upon learning she would not receive that insurance money, Lori would text Chad, "I'll still get the $4,000 a month from SS, meaning Social Security." Chad replied to her in a text that read, "It will be interesting to see if it got changed after he had 2 bullets in his chest." Tylee Ryan, also branded dark and a zombie, was last seen on September 8th, 2019. Subsequent investigations revealed the horrifying truth. Her remains, charred and dismembered, were found in a grave on Chad Daybell's property. Without Charles's $1 million in insurance money to support them, Lori Vallow continued to illegally receive Tylee's Social Security benefits, provided after the death of Tylee's biological father, who had been Lori's 3rd husband. According to this defendant, JJ Vallow, Lori's son, was also possessed. After he was labeled as a dark entity, his fate was no less tragic than his sister's. His young life was also claimed. Later, his bound body was discovered buried in Chad's backyard, his death by suffocation. Yet while JJ was missing, Lori continued to illegally receive JJ's Social Security benefit, money provided by Charles Vallow's dad. Tammy Daybell, a vivacious, healthy mother, was another individual labeled as a dark spirit to be removed. On October 9th of 2019, she reported being shot at night near her home by a man covered in black. She thought it was a paintball gun. On October 19th, 10 days later, she died in her own home with her husband present. This was soon after an increase in the value of her life insurance to more than $400,000. This defendant rapidly cashed in that life insurance and began looking for condos in Hawaii with Lori. You'll see the rental application he submitted for a couple with no kids. Medical examiners would later determine that the only reasonable explanation for Tammy's death was not of natural causes, but rather a homicide. In fact, you will hear from multiple witnesses that Chad predicted multiple times that Tammy would die in early death. Chapter 5. 17 days after his wife's death, Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow got married and celebrated on a beach in Kauai, Hawaii, symbolizing what he called their eternal union. Chad and Lori were preparing their wedding well before Tammy's death. Lori was shopping for wedding rings while Tammy was still alive. Now, without the earthly obstacles of spouses and young children, and with Tammy's insurance policy and the children's social security funds, they could live the life that Chad and Lori wanted. Nothing was going to stand in their way. Chapter 6. Unfortunately for this defendant, reality soon shattered their bliss. Two things led law enforcement to his and Lori's door. On October 2nd, 2019, Lori Vallow's nephew-in-law, a man named Brandon Boudreaux, was shot at in Arizona by someone from what he believed was Tyler's Jeep. Law enforcement in Arizona investigating Brandon's shooting contacted law enforcement in Fremont County, Idaho, to look for Alex Cox and for Tyler's Jeep. And you'll hear that that Jeep was later found in Rexburg, Idaho, in Madison County. Meanwhile, J.J. Vallow's grandmother, concerned that she hadn't seen or heard from him in months, asked police for help. The police followed up and located Lori in Rexburg, Idaho, where the police did a welfare check at Lori's apartment. Law enforcement arrived at Lori's door on November 26, 2019. When asked about Lori, Chad first told law enforcement he didn't know her very well, despite the fact that they were married and had been in a relationship for over a year. Lies by Lori to police about JJ and Tyler's whereabouts, and then a move to Hawaii, and Lori's unwillingness to present her children to law enforcement to prove their well-being led to her arrest and extradition. As Lori refused to produce her children, law enforcement continued their search for Tyler and JJ. During that search, they located a unique text message that this defendant, Chad Daybell, had sent to his wife, Tammy, on September 9, 2019, which was the day after Tyler Bryant's last known appearance. You'll hear from the FBI agent who found that message, but this message seemed longer than his usual text to Tammy, and it had a more conversational tone. In that text, Chad claimed he'd had an interesting morning, that he'd shot a raccoon, that he'd buried it in what they called the pet cemetery, and that he'd had a fire on the property where he burned some wood debris. When law enforcement finally went to the defendant's property the following June, they didn't find a raccoon. They found Tyler's burnt remains that were buried in the pet cemetery. And they found JJ nearby, buried under a tree near a pond. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been told this would be a lengthy trial. You will hear from many witnesses. You will hear a lot of evidence. You're going to hear a lot of dates. The following is just a timeline of major events to help understand when these things took place. October 26, 2018, Chad and Lori meet in St. George, Utah. July 11, 2019, Charles Vallow, Lori's husband, shot and killed by Alex Cox. Between August 31st and September 1st, Lori, Alex Cox, and Tyler and JJ moved to Rexburg, Idaho, just a few miles south of the defendant's home. Tyler's last known sighting was September 8, 2019. The text I just spoke of about the raccoon was sent by the defendant to his wife September 9th, 2019. JJ's last known sighting you'll hear about September 22nd. The attempted homicide of Brandon Boudreaux in Arizona was October 2nd. The shooting I mentioned of Tammy, the shooting at her, the unsuccessful shooting, October 9th, 2019. Tammy's death, October 19th, 2019. 17 days later, Chad and Lori marry in Hawaii. Law enforcement did a welfare check looking for JJ November 26th, 2019 in Rexburg, Idaho. November 26th and 27th, Chad and Lori leave town. June 9th, 2020, Tylee and JJ's remains are found on Chad's property. As I said, you're going to hear a lot of evidence from a lot of witnesses. And there's going to be kind of different groups of evidence you're going to hear from. You'll hear from law enforcement, some of whom will give you a broad overview of the investigation and what they did, how the search for Tylee and JJ drew to a case of murder. You'll hear how it began by people who knew Lori and Chad, the James and Elena. You'll hear about the James and Elena story and about their relationship with each other and how they pursued their dream, their plan for a life together. You'll hear in the defendant's own words, people referred to as obstacles, how they need to be gotten rid of. You're going to hear financial evidence. You'll hear from an FBI forensic accountant and a detective, a Social Security administrator, investigator, who will talk about the finances involved in this case. You'll hear more from law enforcement, from multiple law enforcement agencies, the Rexburg Police, the Fremont County Sheriff's Department, the FBI, Social Security Administration, about the investigation into these crimes. You will see forensic evidence. You'll see DNA testing to identify the body of Tylee. You'll see DNA testing that showed DNA from Tylee was found on at least 2 tools in the defendant's shed. You'll hear digital evidence dealing with geolocation data tied to certain phones that were used in this case. You'll hear from Hawaii law enforcement about searches they performed in Hawaii on the defendant and his wife. And finally, you will hear many of this defendant's own words. You will hear voice recordings of this defendant. You'll hear, recorded phone calls between him and his wife, Lori Daybell. You'll read multiple texts that he and Lori sent back. Another text he sent. Chapter 9, what's unwritten. The defendant stands before you today, charged with multiple crimes. First-degree murder for the death of Tammy Daybell. First-degree murder for the death of Tylee Ryan. First-degree murder for the death of JJ Vallow. Conspiracy to commit murder of Tammy Daybell. Conspiracy to commit murder and grand theft by deception, the death of Tylee Ryan. Conspiracy to commit murder and grand theft by deception for the death of JJ Vallow, and insurance fraud. Two dead children buried in this defendant's backyard. The next month, his wife, dead, in their bed. 17 days later, this defendant marries Lori Vallow. Members of the jury, days or probably weeks from now, when the evidence in this trial is fully unfolded, we will have the opportunity to speak with you again. And at that time, we will ask you to end this horrible narrative. Your verdict will be the link that writes the final chapter of this tragic saga. A chapter that delivers justice for Tammy, justice for JJ, and justice for Tylee. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wood. That will conclude the opening statement of the state. Mr. Pryor, a couple of questions. First, is the defense going to give an opening statement now or defer until later And second, if you are going to give an opening statement, we would prefer we take a mid-morning recess or go forward.
Judge, could we take a short recess? And I have a.
Okay, I think this is a good time then for our mid-morning break. We'll go ahead and take that now. And then once that's concluded, Mr. Pryor can give us a thanks statement for the events.
All rise.
Okay. Hold on, I gotta turn my ear off. The mental gymnastics and just the gym. Yeah, I done cut down a tree and all kinds of stuff. Oh my God. Okay. So I didn't, okay. I don't know. I never process things right away. So, I'll have to watch it like a couple times just to let it sink in, you know. It's crazy. What do y'all think? I need your feedback. And yeah, thank you all for being here. And thank you, JLL. You have no idea how much this person aided and just took away all of the financial burden, worries, all the things for me to go up to Boise last year. The entire thing. And she never, I know she might be mad. So I don't want to make you mad, but I don't know. It's just very generous and kind. And I mean, I don't even, it's like so big, you know, because I mean, to the rental vehicle, to the plane trip back and forth, Jason to come meet me, the hotel room the entire time. I mean, everything. And so I've always wanted to tell you guys that, but you know, oh, JLL, let me know if you're mad. Anyways, I love you and we love you and we thank you so much from the bottom of our heart. If you ever need anything that we can do, let us know. We will do our best, you know. Yeah, we definitely need to change laws. um okay. Does anyone think that Tylee really hated Charles? I don't. Or was it I think it's something that a narcissist does, right? They pit everybody against one another so that it reminds me of whenever Uncle Charles randomly told me when we were walking out of my mom Ultrahand's house, he just turned and just kind of muttered to me. He was like, Lori she just needs to be needed. And anyways, that didn't dawn on me for, I mean, a long time, well into this stuff, you know, into the case and all that. And it makes a lot of sense because she needed to be needed. She's a needy biatch. um, y'all think it was good? Okay, good. I think Lori played on that Fulky. Oh, Donnie, you okay? What happened? Donnie, all right? I took Brutus out and he did the splits on the way back in because my feet were wet. Oh my God. How do you feel? Let me know in 3 days if you're not immediately hurt. That's when it really hurts. Girl, I swear. Grace Ann, right? I was telling my boys that this morning. I had a tree. My magnolia tree, y'all, snapped in half. I just laid on the damn power line. So I went out there and so it finished breaking while I was holding it. So I was like, oh my God, I'm holding it with one arm and I'm outside by myself. And I was gonna have to phone a friend or, I was gonna have to call because Jason's sleeping. So I was gonna have to call Leland to come help me and hold it up. Anyways, I didn't want it to snap the power line. It'd be lights out. I know the magnolia tree, right? I mean, it's not a full grown tree, so that's good. But I mean, damn, the real storm was horrible. Well, so is that one too. Sitting in that courtroom. Yeah. Y'all were cracking me up with the Farmville. Okay. Oh, no. Or Frontierville. I'm sorry. And I actually have a screenshot of Chad in the back of a truck at one of those conferences, right? I'm sure Janelle knows what I'm talking about. And there's Frontierville on the literally on the screen behind him. And so, did he make a presentation about his revelation for Tammy to not play Frontierville anymore? Because he sure did have it on the damn projection screen right behind him. And he's standing there in the middle of a damn field in the back of a truck. Preacher's going to preach, I guess, huh? Oh my God, now I'm dying to know. Farmville or is it Frontierville? I don't remember. Okay, I think it said Frontierville. I gotta go check. Oh my God, I'm gonna go look at my Canva photos. I think it did say Frontierville though, now that I mention it, so I'm not gonna be able to look at the chat, but I'll sit here and ramble your ears off, right? Um, I need my projects, okay. Um, I'll just put chat. I have too many damn pictures of these people. I'm so sick of looking at their damn faces, y'all. And coming up with new ideas for freaking thumbnails. We're almost there, though. We're almost there. Let's see. And we hate your books, Chad, by the way. I mean, in case you're online, logging on to difficult research, that would be awesome. First off, just want to say, F you. I'm trying to be nice here, or I'm really saying the cuss word, though. And we hate your books. Every single one of us in this chat hates your books. They're stupid. Anyways, I'm just talking smack. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I'm looking. I have so many freaking pictures, y'all. It's not freaking funny. Let me type in Frontierville. No, let me try Farmville. Oh my God, I would fall out my chair if it says Farmville on the damn thing. Okay, wait, let's see. I don't see it. Let me look at my Google Photos. It's easier. It's better with keywords. I think I spelled it wrong. And so the courtroom is set up the same exact way as it was whenever Lori's trial took place. Frontierr, I think Bile. Oh, pulled it right up. Bam. So it is Frontierville. Damn. So it says, I'm just going to show y'all real quick. I'm going to just switch screens real quick. So there it is, right? Oh, I'm going to make sure I'm hiding behind the thing. Okay, y'all can see it, right? Let me do this. So I really straight up thought for a moment it was called Frontierville that Tammy was playing when her grandma Lucille appeared to Chad and gave him his revelation that Tammy needed to get her ass off the game, right? And go and do his family research. Now, poor thing. Anyways, either way, it's gross. He's gross, and we know the truth. Okay. Let me make sure. Yeah. Okay. Let me try and also let me check the settings here, see if it'll allow me to do. I wonder why it's not giving me 1080, or maybe it don't. I don't know. I thought it did. Just want the highest quality. It did on my iPad. Anyways. Oh. I wonder if Chad ever gets tired from keeping up with all those alternate realities. No, I really think this is how he entertains himself and lives with himself, He that's a good question, actually. Chad in his short sleeves, right? Can you picture him as a missionary? Actually, I think he does have short sleeve shirts on as a missionary in New Jersey, over there in Zero's parts. Sorry, Zero. But with short sleeves and a freaking tie, right? Just thinking what's that guy's name that he thought he looked like? The Rocky, the Russian guy that was a boxer. Oh my God, I can't think of his name. This is all he has to do while in his cell. Yep. Yep and yep. Definitely. You do think Lori had Munchausen by proxy or however you spell it? I get it. I know it's hard. And poor Tylee was used for sympathy and a pawn, right? That's everybody is a pawn to Lori and Chad. It just seems like Chad's more, and I'm not a professional. I'm just giving you my unprofessional opinion. But Chad looks like he's if he's not anything more, I don't know if you can be a psychopath and all the things together. Not my field, not a professional, but a covert narcissist. Like he's just sneaky, sneaky. And again, Chad Daybell, the only time he was chivalrous was whenever his trial finally became severed from Lori's, his wife. And he was like, "Here you go, ladies first, wink, wink." And then he like sends his attorney, to go and view and observe trial proceedings for said wife. And I mean, that's so righteous, isn't it? That's the only time Chad Daybell has been chivalrous, in my opinion. Ladies first. Mm-mm-mm. He does look like Dilbert. I've always thought that too. It's like a combination. If Dilbert had a baby with the Family Guy and, a hot potato, I don't know, somewhere in there. I don't know if his kids are there. I mean, it's so freaking hard to see. I wish I could zoom in, but I can't. I wish I could. If y'all know a way, let me know. I will try it once. Mm, oh my God, just so many things are going through my mind right now. I want to hear what John Pryor has to say. Dilbert and Dexter. There you go, Sue Ellen. Oh, Dilbert and Dexter have a baby. His name is Chad Daybell, right? Oh my goodness. He is a potat. He's a potato, yes. No, really. He really is, Krusha. I listened to someone read part of one of his books the other day. Would have never wasted my time reading it, but glad I tuned in. It was interesting. He screwed up for sure. Big time. And he thinks that people like he's God's gift, like he's got the priesthood, he's got the visionary gifts. um and I just kind of came up with this recently, about his near death experiences, if they're even legit. Again, I think that kind of plays into the whole theory of them wanting to, or Chad actually wanting to push Tammy's spirit out of her body. It's due to near-death experiences. When a person experiences trauma, such as being shot at maybe by a guy dressed in all black with a ski mask on in your driveway, might scare the shit out of you, might actually make your spirit, uh, in their minds, I guess, your spirit detach from that silver cord, I think is what they call it. I don't know. This is not my thing, but you know, it just kind of makes sense. And from researching into the Hamblin case and how David Hamblin um, loves to practice this parts theory. It's quote parts theory, and it's to do just that. And it kind of goes all in with this SRA that happened and kind of is part of it is part of the Utah satanic panic that happened way back in the 80s, 90s with Glenn Pace. That's the Glenn Pace memo. He's part of that. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense. And so Chad's texting Lori and saying, it's just not that easy to get her body, I mean, her spirit out of her body. And I'm like, what? I mean, if that would right there, just it shows intent. Their intent is so dark. Okay. It's dark. And it's evil, it's wrong, it's immoral, it's all the things. And, I mean, if they could just convict on just the text messages alone, I swear. I mean, it obviously does play into the whole conspiracy of it all, Only one person has to further, the act or the agreement or whatever. I was looking for Chad's books at DI, but didn't find any. I did find a Joseph Smith book in though. Oh, like Nuanto, right? That's the one she had, right? That she had gotten from her mama's house. I thought that was funny. I love DI. Oh my God. I was like, I'm not ever going to shop there when I went up there for Lori's trial. And then mom's like, come on, she was like, come on, we're going to go to DI. I was like, I'm not going there. I'm not going to spend any money there. And I went there and I was like, book, book, book. I mean, I had a buggy full of books. And then guess what? Books, they're not light to like travel with back home, here in Louisiana. So they're still over in I'll call it my spare room or my room whenever I go to Idaho, Boise, at Mary, aka Detective's daughter, her house. So that's where my books are. I packed as many as I could. But please don't. If you are curious about any of these, especially Chad, Daybell, but any of these other people like Visions of Glory, Jason Mao. I mean, let's put our heads together. I've already got basically screenshots downloaded of Chad Daybell's autobiography or whatever the hell that is. What is it? Living on the Edge of Heaven or whatever it is. But yeah, don't buy it. Don't put money in his commissary, please. There's ways to share links and stuff. People share PDFs all the time. Like I've already bought and paid for the Kindle or what is it? For Visions of Glory, where they read it to you. I don't like that dude's voice though. It is weird. What is that? Amazon? Whatever. I have the link. I mean, I'll share it. Don't be padding these people's pockets because that's what makes them profits with, the F and not the PH. And they're laughing all the way to the damn bank, Ugh. It's disgusting. Audible. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I'm so silly. Can't think of all the things. And again, I didn't sleep last night. So I'm like, my head is frazzled right now. I kind of get like that whenever, I wasn't thinking about the trial. I'm just like, whatever. It's just another damn day, right? We've already done this for almost 5 years now. So it's just like, okay. I try not to have high expectations or whatever because I don't like to, it's kind of setting myself up for failure if things don't go the way that I imagine them to. So I try not to do that to myself. But I guess in the back of my mind, it was just kind of weighing on me. So I've been nervous cleaning for like a whole damn 2 weeks now. The suppressor froze up on Alex when he pulled the trigger on Tammy in her driveway. It was an unusual frigid 23 degrees that night, and it was, in October 2019. Ooh, let me go grab. I forgot I had my iPad screen recording. Let me go get it. So, okay. And I mean, I don't know. It just makes me wonder because I don't know if Alex really just did that to scare Tammy. I really think it was nefarious. I really do. I don't think it was just to scare her, and push her spirit out of her body. But then again, these people are so petty and depraved. So, I mean, nothing. I put nothing past these people. They believe, they talk about portals and other times being married, 50, 11 lifetimes ago, Anyways, it's silly. And I just don't put nothing past them. I mean, there were 2 dead children buried on his property on 2 separate occasions while his wife was alive. Oh, God, the depravity. I swear it's horrible. Horrible. And when this first started, when it went live in the courtroom, I mean, I was just kinda sitting there and I was like, "Can you imagine what it would be like if it were you, if it were me?" Just imagine yourself in that hot seat. First off, I know we wouldn't put ourselves there, but I'm just saying, kinda change change, the footing there, and imagine that, you're sitting amongst, you know, uh, in-laws, ex-in-laws or whatever, former I don't know how to refer to them as, but people who love Tammy, people who love JJ, people who love Tylee and Charles and Joe, and then there's law enforcement and there's, just all these people, your friends, and then there's the whole world and everybody in the world, all of us, we know we've seen a glimpse into Chad's Chad and Lori's nasty ass desires or whatever the hell. And so we know, and I mean, but he's, like, just sitting there with his freaking chin up because he got a lot of chin, right? But I'm just saying, like, can you and your kids, I don't know if they're in the courtroom or not, but just can you even imagine how embarrassing that would be? But that's for people who actually, have feelings, um, and even experience those kinds of things. So, I don't know how I'd be so damn embarrassed. I would hide my face straight up. Oh, back to work. All right, 0. We're right here. Yeah. Okay. Idaho only holds court part-time. Must get those breaks done. Right? I'd be up on the balcony smoking my ass off. Fun fact, Denise says, okay, ooh, let me grab it. Mm, Fun fact, when asked Gib the fib, what happens to zombies, she was like, they die. Right? She knew and did nothing except call her so-called friend another a-hole. Sorry for her anger. It's welcome here. I mean, it just is. You're not alone. I think that too. I mean, it just, I don't have the right saying or whatever. Goes to show you. It just, I mean, goes along with the rest of the whole gang there. They're just such stand-up people. Not. Um, they didn't care. They also don't care who lived, who died. Um, but then, I was watching a replay of Chad's preliminary hearing when Melanie was on the stand. John Pryor was going, and he was just questioning her. He wasn't being rude, but he was like, "Hey, Melanie, your son, is it, true that he, I don't know, I don't have the right, I can't, I just kind of have to paraphrase and I won't have the wording right. So sorry. But something to the tune of, about her son's visit, who I mean, well, he says your son, Melanie Gibb, who also has autism, and she's like, "Yeah." And then he's like, and so, something about he told law enforcement that about some time he had spent with JJ, um, around the same time that, police were asking her where he was, because Lori told the cops that during the welfare check that JJ was with Melanie Gibb. He's got autism. Remember, it's weird. It's like a deflection that they use. "Oh, he's got autism." That was so weird. Why would you say that as a mother? Well, anyways, but and so, basically what John Pryor was trying to get to is the fact that Melanie Gibbs' son lied to police also, which by extension, I mean, he's not just gonna lie because, I mean, just because, right? I mean, I'd say mommy had to have influenced her child to tell the police the wrong thing. And that just is that. And so John Pryor's like, questioning her about that. And she's like, my son, I mean, she gets all freaking defensive, like she cared, like she cares. Because any mother, no mother would just up and leave their children, 4 of them, with their husband to go hoe around basically with another married man. who was also allegedly going through a divorce at the same time. I mean, deprave, deprave, deprave. Her birthday's the same day as my son's birthday, which is January 1st, Bo Peep. Let's see, she's 50. I don't know what year she was born, but I know her middle name's Rachel. That's about all I know right now, or all I can remember right now. And like her husband, so it's kind of confusing because Melanie Gibbs' ex-husband now, her now ex-husband, his name was Brendan. And then there's Brendan and Melanie, then there's Brandon and Melanie, and you're like, what? It's so confusing. She likely knew if she didn't jump the gun and tell all that she could, that she'd get the co-conspirator charge. Mhm. Again, it's like that filing from Mark Means to the prosecution when he's trying to get him DQ'd, basically, and in those filings, I found you kinda can read a little bit into what they're asking for, kinda like the tea leaves or whatever, and so Mark Means was requesting, all communications with, prosecutor Rob Wood and Melanie Gibb, Post-its, notepads, if you wrote it down in your brain, all those silly things, and we were like, "Oh my god." But then if you go back and read it, you're like, "Okay, Mark Means is just he's really fishing right here, trying to draw out, an alleged conversation between Rob Wood and potentially Melanie Gibb, stating that she needs to put out a video and make it a good one, whatever that means." And this is, I gotta check the date to make sure it's before the East Idaho News extravaganza, right? I just don't like corruption. I don't know. I ain't trying to, piss on anybody's parade. I'm sorry for the language, or you know what I mean, the slang words here, but I'm at a loss for words, or the right words for sure. I just do things right, and then you don't have to worry about anything that isn't right, good, moral, ethical, integrity, you know, then you don't have to worry about those things coming back on you. So I hope that's not the case. I hope that, I'm just reading it wrong or something. Mine too, Ravina. I do. I cuss way too much and it's bad. I'm like, oh my God, I need to stop. And that's probably why I'm not a very effective speaker, because I'm too busy with my slang words and basically, ebonics. And anyways, so I don't know what to do with real words. You know what I mean? My favorite word is the F word, right? Right? Mhm. It just rolls. It rolls. And I mean, who made them bad words first off? Okay, who's like the bad word police is what I'm asking. Oh no, that one's offensive. Okay, tell me it ain't so. I mean, there's way other words, a lot of other words that are really offensive, and they're regular words. Anyways, Christian, did you see that the court clerk is wearing coral over black like Melanice wore in Nate's interview? No, I didn't. I can't. Haven't even really looked at the screen. You know, I'm kind of everywhere, and that's just how that's how I am in all these things. Every time we have a court hearing and stream it here, I mean, ever since I started this channel, um, I never pay attention or process anything during. I have to like be by myself and not kind of be on the spot. Like right now, I'm on the spot, so I feel like pressured, but it's just pressure within myself. It's nothing you guys are doing. Um, so I don't know. It's weird. I have ADHD and, all the other things. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard not to cuss. I even like substitute it instead of,
Thank you. Please be seated.
okay, all right, sit down, y'all. They could have left it big. Just saying, that was a good.
Please have the chair, bro.
Mr. All rise. Very present and accounted for.
All right, thank you. Please be seated. We've concluded our morning recess. We're back on the record on KCR 22-21-16-23, State of Idaho versus Chad Daybell. This is the time we'll next have opening statements by the defense. Mr. Pryor, is the defense ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, may I have the post permission to enter the well?
You may.
Thank you.
And maybe check that microphone to make sure it is working. Okay.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As an introduction, I'm John Pryor. I'm the defense attorney for Mr. Daybell. And I'm from Meridian, Idaho. I'm an attorney from Meridian, Idaho, over here on the west side of the state. I want to talk to you a little bit today. And at my age, video presentations are not something that would come easy to me. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about my view of the case and the facts and evidence. And what's important are facts and evidence. I think that when we went through the jury selection process, we talked about facts and we talked about evidence. And the judge gave you an instruction to talk to you a little bit about you take into consideration the facts of this case and not be distracted by other things. Don't be distracted by speculation. Don't be distracted by guesses or assumptions or hunches. It all comes down to facts and evidence. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the facts and evidence in this case. Chad Daybell, and I'm learning this, and I've had some time to learn about this because it didn't come natural to me. But Chad Daybell went on what's called a mission early on in his life. And I guess what a mission is, I'm not familiar with that, but I guess what a mission is they go away to a location and they talk to people about their religious beliefs. And Chad's faith, that was important as part of his faith. And when they return from these missions, they start the process of moving on with their lives. And when Chad got back from doing his mission in New Jersey, he met Tammy Daybell. Another fact that I discovered, and you'll hear a little bit about, is that Chad had an extended engagement, had an extended by his faith standards romance before they got married. Chad and Tammy dated for approximately 6 months. And what I understand is by their nature, 6 months is an extended dating process before you end up getting married. So after 6 months, they got married. They were married in Utah and proceeded then to have children. They have 5 children, now all 5 adult children. At some point, they moved back here to Idaho, or moved to Idaho, and they started a small publishing company. And you'll hear testimony that the publishing company was predominantly run by Tammy. Tammy managed it. Tammy was the brains behind the company. And Tammy basically took the reins and did everything that was necessary to move this publishing company. It was a small publishing company, a very small publishing company. And what they did is basically publish books. Chad would write these books. And he would write these books about his religious experiences. In his faith, he had certain beliefs, the faith that he practiced. You know, when he went on his mission, when he, read his interpretation of the books that he used for his faith, he started writing books about things that were consistent with his faith. Things like premonitions. We've all heard of premonitions, about being able to predict things, about being able to see maybe when things happen. And some people believe in that, some people don't. Some people have personally experienced that, where I've been here before. But he writes about his premonitions. He writes about good and evil. and what it means to be good, and what it means to be evil. He writes about dark and light. He writes about subjects that are a little darker, like death, and maybe the coming of the end of things, and when his savior in his mind is going to come back, and maybe there'll be some kind of a redemption of some sort. But his books covered a lot of subjects like that, and they were all based on fiction. In other words, he was writing these books about theories and things that came into his head, and he would write these stories. But he also wrote children's books, and he wrote books for teenagers, and he wrote these books about adventures and then some crazy ideas about things that kids and teenagers get involved in. In about October of 2018, Chad was going out, and he was invited by one of the witnesses that you'll hear in this case to speak about his books. And this was not uncommon. He would travel, and he would be asked to say, well, come and talk about some of the things that you believe in. You've talked about these premonitions, life experiences. You're going to hear testimony about that. And he was invited on one particular occasion in late October. And he attended this, and while he was there trying to sell his books, and like most of us who are business people, the focus of these meetings really was for Chad to try to get his books published, because that's how he made a living. And he was there in one of his booths trying to promote his books, and he laid them out there. And this beautifully stunning woman named Lori Vallow comes up. And she starts giving him a lot of attention. And she pursued him. And she encouraged him. And you'll hear testimony that she went so far as to grab behind the booth and sort of help him in trying to sell some of his books. She obviously had an interest, and maybe she felt that he was this publisher, or maybe she had an opinion. You'll hear testimony about that. And then after the seminar, there was a length of time where there was no contact between the two of them, a month and a half, 2 months. And during that time, Chad Daybell went on his day-to-day life. He'd been married to Tammy for some 29 years, has no remarkable background of any kind. I think the testimony we'll offer will show I think he had a speeding ticket in 2005. But Lori Vallow was a different story. Lori Vallow was someone who, right out of high school, married her first husband. You'll hear testimony about this. That marriage was very short-lived, very short-lived. She then married husband number 2 a few years later. And again, very short-lived marriage. And there's some testimony indication that there were some problems with the marriage that caused the breakup. But the concern seems to be, the theme seems to be that Lori's brother Alex, and you're going to hear about Alex Cox. Alex Cox was Lori's protector. Alex Cox would do anything and everything to protect, aid, and assist Lori Vallow in whatever her endeavors, without unbridled question, anything. And if Alex Cox even perceived that there was a problem, Alex Cox reacted. You're going to hear testimony that in 2007, I believe it was in August of 2007, Lori Vallow had finished up going through her third marriage with Joseph Ryan. It was a tumultuous, you'll hear testimony that it was a tumultuous marriage, a terrible marriage. Lori Vallow made accusations against Joseph Ryan of abusing their child highly. Yes, the same time. And during one of the visits of 2007, folks, and I want to tell you, you're going to hear testimony that in 2007, Chad Daybell didn't even know Lori Vallow existed. But Alex Cox, after one of the exchanges and the visitations with Tylee, Alex Cox approached Joseph Ryan and shot him with a taser and assaulted him. Was eventually charged with aggravated assault, was eventually put in jail, and had this on his record. And there was representation, the facts will suggest that at the time Joseph Ryan feared for his life. This was a serious situation. But it set the pattern for what we're dealing with Alex Cox. Whenever there was a problem or a threat to Lori Vallow, you'll hear testimony that Alex Cox came to the rescue. But Alex Cox would run without even question and do whatever was necessary to solve Lori Vallow's problems. We're going to fast forward then to 2019. Lori Vallow is still married to Charles Vallow. And the prosecuting attorney mentioned this, yes. Chad Daybell at that point, coming in January and February, started to have communications with Lori Vallow. And yes, folks, it turned into an inappropriate relationship. 2019 and forward. And yes, he was engaging in discussions. He was engaging in contact with her, all of the things that the prosecutor talked about in terms of a relationship. But subsequent to the seriousness of this relationship getting rolling, Alex Cox was at a visitation in 2019 with Charles Vallow. And Lori Vallow was there. Tyree Ryan was there. JJ was there. They were all present. And during that altercation and that supposed visit, much like with Joseph Ryan, Alex Cox took out a gun and shot Charles Vallow. And then after calling 911, he then finished the job and walked up to him at close range, finished him off. Now, you're going to hear testimony that in some way Chad Daybell was implicated in that, and you're going to hear further testimony that he was not. You're going to hear testimony and see documentation that suggests that the prosecuting attorney on review of this indicated that there is no likelihood of conviction of Chad Daybell. You'll hear testimony that Chad Daybell had nothing to do with the execution by Alex Cox, Charles Vallow. And the same for Brandon Boudreaux. You will hear that Chad Daybell is not being pursued for any involvement in the Brandon Boudreaux attempted murder. Those occurred and those are separate, as well as the Charles Vallow. So what we have is we have a situation where someone who's 29 years old, Chad Daybell, 29 years of marriage with Tammy Daybell, no discernible issues in his life. And then Lori Vallow comes in the picture, Miss Texas. You'll hear testimony about this beautiful, vivacious woman, very sexual person, and very manipulative. And she knows how to get what she wants. And she drew Chad Daybell into a relationship, and an unfortunate relationship, that Chad fell into. After that, things started rolling, and issues started happening that eventually, yes, there was a murder, and there was a burial. And you've heard discussion about the backyard of Chad Daybell. Well, we have a 4.5-acre farm in Fremont County, Idaho. And you'll hear testimony that the body of J.J. Vallow was discovered behind an irrigation pond and a tree out in the pasture. So technically, yes, maybe the backyard, but more accurately described as the pasture, hidden behind a tree. You're going to hear testimony that also in the middle of this pasture was a raspberry patch, former raspberry patch, that was then turned into a place for them to bury the cats, the dogs, and all of the animals on the farm. Okay. Again, out in the pasture of the field and not the backyard. You'll hear testimony about that. You're going to hear from 4 experts that I'm going to bring forward. And these 4 experts, the first one is going to be Dr. Greg Hampikian. And Dr. Hampikian is a bit of a notable local from Boise State University. And Dr. Hampikian is a DNA expert, considered one of the best DNA experts. He's been involved and has significant work that he's done on both the defense and for the prosecution. He was involved and led the team with Amanda Knox in Italy that got her exonerated because of the DNA evidence. He has substantial experience. And anybody or anyone who knows anything about DNA goes to Dr. Hampikian first, because he is the guy. And Dr. Hampinkian is going to talk a little bit about the DNA evidence that's found on the scene. Dr. Hampinkian is going to talk about the fingerprint on the plastic that J.J. Vallow was discovered in was that of Alex Cox. Dr. Hampinkian is going to talk about the hair sample that was found on the plastic of Alex Cox and that it was Lori Vallow. Dr. Hampinkian is going to talk about several, and I mean several other hairs that were found on the plastic of J.J. Vallow. But he's also going to say that there was no DNA evidence, no hair sample of Chad Daybell on Tylee Ryan or on J.J. Vallow. You're then going to hear from Dr. Raven. Dr. Raven is a forensic pathologist, and she's going to talk a little bit about the circumstances surrounding Tammy Daybell. And what Dr. Raven is going to say is that there's no indication that this is either a homicide or any other crime, and that the only conclusion she could come to is you can't determine what the cause of death was. There's no way to determine it. Tammy Daybell was buried. You'll hear testimony about that. And then a short time later, the police officers showed up and they dug her body up after she'd been buried, after she was laid to rest, and then continued after the body was pulled out of the ground and continued to examine it for whatever they were looking for. And what you're going to find is based on that, Dr. Raven's going to say you can't determine what the cause of death is. You're going to hear testimony from the Daybell children, from the children themselves. 4 of the 5 children, I think, three or 4 of the 5 children testimony. They're going to talk about their mother's health struggles. They're going to talk about their mother's use of various medicinal treatments that she would use, oils that she would put on her leg, medicine and different herbs that she would take, and that her mother was suffering from, a number of maladies, and that she would refuse to go see a doctor or get it treated. And Dr. Raven's going to enlighten you a little bit about some of the circumstances regarding Tammy Daybell. You're then going to hear from Patrick Eller. He's a forensic digital data examiner. And Patrick Eller is someone who has spent his life in the military working for various agencies, and we'll talk a little bit about that, within the government to do data retrieval and data research. And he's going to talk a little bit about the phone records that are involved in this case. He's going to specifically talk about the travels of Alex Cox, because you are going to hear testimony that Alex Cox went to Chad Daybell's property on the 9th of September. You're going to hear that Alex Cox approached Chad Daybell's property a half a dozen other, 5 or 6 other times. You're going to hear testimony that Alex Cox was there on the 23rd. And you're going to hear where Alex Cox was in a number of other times and places in his whereabouts and his travels for about a 2.5 month period. And Patrick is going to, offer you some information and data to support all of that. And finally, you're going to hear from a forensic anthropologist, and his name's Eric Bartlink. And Mr. Bartlink is going to talk to you a little bit about the nature and the nature of how the remains of Tylee were burned. Eric Bartlink is going to talk to you a little bit about the lack of complete skeletal remains and why, when Tylee was dug down in the ground, there was not a complete set of skeletal remains. In fact, there were a number of pieces of that were missing. You're going to hear a lot of evidence, and the judge has talked to us a little bit about not making a decision until you hear all of the evidence. And there's a specific jury instruction that talks about that. The jury instruction is, consider all the evidence. Listen to the instructions from the court on how you're to proceed. Listen to the arguments of the prosecuting attorney and the defense. And then and only then do you make your decision. And at the conclusion of all that evidence, and at the conclusion of the judge's instructions, the arguments of both of the defense attorneys, I'm going to ask you folks to return a verdict not guilty. Thank you, folks. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
All right, that concludes the opening statement of the defense then. This time we will commence with presenting evidence. I understand the state does have a first witness to follow. Is the state ready and prepared to do that?
Your Honor, the state is prepared. We had spoken with your clerk earlier. We thought we were going to have a brief sidebar.
Okay, let's discuss our schedule and put there inside. Sure. Council, thanks for discussing scheduling. Our intention here will be to start with the state's first witness that apparently will take some time. So we will plan on taking a lunch hour also at right around noon if possible. So Mr. Wood, are you going to be calling the first witness?
Yes, Your Honor, and the state will be calling Ray Hermesian.
All right, well, call your witness. We'll have him come up and sworn.
Sir, before safely. When you're facing Madam Clerk, raise your right hand and be sworn.
Solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
All right. Officer, as you testify, just remember to make a audible response to anything being questioned, so that the record stays clear, and try to avoid speaking over the top of anyone questioning you. That in mind, then, Mr. Wood, if you'd like to inquire in that.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer, will you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Ray Hermosillo, Hermosillo. Is that on?
Your Honor, is that microphone on?
I'm not sure. Yeah. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and start over and just talk right into the mic, please.
Detective, will you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Ray Hermosillo, Hermosillo.
Thank you. Detective Hermosillo, what is your occupation?
I'm currently a lieutenant in the detective division for the Rexburg Police Department.
How long have you been a detective?
5 years.
And how long were you involved in law enforcement before you became a detective?
Before I was a detective, 18 years.
Have you worked for any other law enforcement agency other than the Rexburg Police?
No,
And are you post-certified?
I am.
Detective, have you been involved in the case regarding Chad Daybell?
Yes, I have.
You know what Chad Daybell looks like?
I do.
Is he present in this courtroom?
He is. He's at the defendant's table for sure. A low screen time.
Thank you. Detective, let's talk about how did you initially become involved in the investigation regarding Mr. Daybell?
On November 1st, 2019, I was contacted by Fremont County Sheriff's Office. I was told that there was possibly a Jeep that was involved in an attempted homicide in our jurisdiction. So at that time, with that information, I contacted Gilbert Police and asked what they needed us to do to assist them.
What did you do?
Gilbert Police asked us to seize the Jeep if it was located. They gave us the address of 565 Pioneer, which is Rock Creek Townhomes. They also asked us,
Detective, I'm gonna stop real quick. Where is that address located? What city?
Rexburg,
What county is Rexburg in?
Madison County.
So once you received that address, what did you do?
Gilbert asked us to seize the Jeep if we had located the Jeep. They also asked us to perform intermittent surveillance. So at that time, that's exactly what we did.
When you say intermittent surveillance, what did you do to perform that surveillance?
When we were driving around, when there was no other calls coming in, we would park in front of the residence, behind the residence, take photographs of anybody leaving or coming in. That's basically what we did for the surveillance.
And do you recall what dates you did that surveillance?
The dates were between November 1st and November 4th, when I located the Jeep at 565 Pioneer.
Did you ever see the defendant at that address?
I did. There were a few times during the intermittent surveillance that we had taken photographs of the defendant, Mr. Daybell, and Lori Vallow, either coming or going from the residence.
And that was between the dates of November 1st and November 4th.
Judge, could we have, for the record, have this officer established?
I'm sorry, 2019.
So. Right, and did you, when you talked about seeing Mr. Daybell, was that between those dates of November 1st and November 4th of 2019?
That's correct.
And your primary job was to look for a Jeep, is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct.
Your Honor, I'm gonna ask that the witness be handed what's been marked, the state's exhibit 90. Very well, the court has a courtesy copy and counsel as well.
Mr. Wood, to be clear, it sounded like you said 90, this is 9A.
I believe it's 90. Double check.
I just see the exhibit, so I can confirm my words. It's okay.
You're correct, Your Honor, 9A,
Thank you.
and that would be exhibits 9A through 90. Detective, do you recognize state's exhibits 9A through 9B?
Yes, I do.
What do they purport to be?
That is the Jeep that I had seized, parked in the parking lot just outside of 565 Pioneer.
And were these pictures taken at the location of 565 Pioneer?
No, these photographs were taken at our impound lot at the police department.
Did you take these pictures?
I did not.
But do you recognize these images as true and accurate representations of the Jeep you seized from 565 Pioneer Drive?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask the state's exhibits 9A through D be entered into evidence.
The objection from the defense.
Judge, I'd like to move on to your immediate action on the foundation.
All right, you can board there or ask foundational questions, Mr. Pryor.
Officer Hermosillo, thank you. You mentioned that you were doing surveillance on the Jeep, is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you have an occasion to get close to the Jeep during that surveillance?
We hadn't located the Jeep during that surveillance. I located the Jeep on November 4th, 2019, and that's when I had it impounded.
Okay, and at the time of being impounded, did you have the occasion to go through the Jeep and observe the Jeep enter? Or were you relying just on the photographs taken in the Jeep? Do you understand my question?
No, sir. Can you
I'll
repeat it?
rephrase that. Did you have a personal occasion to go through the inside of that Jeep and observe the contents within the Jeep?
Your Honor, I think that goes beyond the scope of this specific exhibit.
I guess the issue, Mr. Wood, is he indicated he did not take these photographs, and some of the exhibits also contain photographs of the interior of the Jeep, so it's proper, more dire negative objection.
Thank you.
May I continue, Judge?
Yes.
Officer, all I'm trying to establish is I don't want you to be able to testify that, someone else took the pictures and this is what they found. I want you to be able, you're authenticating and you're under oath to swear that these are accurate photos. I'm trying to find out if that knowledge is based on your personal experience, or is it simply based on the fact that you're relying on somebody else who told you this is what we found? So that's what I'd like you to clarify for me, if you would, sir.
Sure. I impounded the Jeep. I was standing next to the officer taking the photographs, and I also went through the Jeep personally.
Okay, I withdraw the objection. Thank you, officer.
All right, exhibits 9A through D are admitted.
Thank you. May I publish to the jury?
You may want to have a quick sidebar with counsel.
Like the reporter?
All right, Mr. Wood, if you'd like to proceed with publishing the court's instructions there on the sidebar, then you may publish any or all of the photos.
Thank you, Your Honor, and if I could have access to the album. Detective, is this what you saw in State's Exhibit A?
Yes,
Is this the Jeep that you had been assigned to do surveillance for?
that's right.
Did you ever learn who this Jeep belonged to?
I did.
Who did it belong to?
It was registered to Charles Vallow, but we later determined that Tylee Ryan drove that Jeep.
Detective, this is State's Exhibit 9B. Is this that same Jeep?
Yes,
That's all I'm going to publish now.
All right, thank you.
Detective, while you were doing your surveillance, you testified that you had occasion to see the defendant, Lori Vallow. Did you ever see children with her?
no, we didn't.
Did you ever see anybody else with them?
No.
That's good. Were you, at that time, were you aware of who J.J. Vallow was?
No,
Were you aware of who Tylee Ryan was?
no,
So when you spoke with, is it fair to say that when you were initially contacted by another law enforcement agency, they did not ask you to look for those children at that time?
that's correct.
Detective, did your role in this investigation change after that?
It did.
When did that happen?
After I had seized the Jeep November 4th, 2019, I contacted Gilbert Police and let them know I had the Jeep. Gilbert Police Department flew to Rexburg with a few of their detectives and a few of their crime analysts to go through the Jeep and serve a warrant with the Jeep. They were looking for the infotainment center, which is the middle of the Jeep console. It has the GPS locations, things of that nature, and they wanted the information extracted. So when they were up here on November 18th, 2019, they asked me and the other detectives if during our intermittent surveillance, if we had seen any children. And we told them we hadn't. They stated that JJ's grandmother.
Judge, I'm gonna object. I'm trying to be somewhat open-minded about foundation, but I'm gonna object.
I'll ask a question, Your Honor.
Go ahead, Vince.
So you did have further contact with law enforcement from Arizona?
Correct.
And which law enforcement agency was that?
Gilbert Police Department.
And was it Gilbert Police Department that was looking for that Jeep?
Yes, it was.
When you followed up with them about the Jeep, did they give you any other information about their case?
They did.
Did any of that information regard children?
Yes, it did.
What were you told by Gilbert Police?
Judge, objection, hearsay.
Coming in for the effect on the listener, Your Honor.
Judge, could we approach?
No, give me a moment to make a ruling on that. I'll instruct the witness can answer the question, but for only the purpose of effect on the listener, if you can clarify that with your witness, Mr. Wood. Sure. And any objections overruled.
Detective, based on your conversation with Gilbert Police Did you take any action regarding any children involved in this case?
Yes, we did.
And for the purpose of what you did, what information were you given that you needed to look up on?
We were informed through their investigation that JJ Bellow's grandmother was concerned for his safety.
Judge, and again, I'm gonna object at this point to renew my objection. That's going beyond.
I'll also stand as bringing up your statement.
Okay. Based on your conversation with Gilbert Police, what was the next step you took in your investigation?
We were requested to do a welfare check on JJ Bellow from the Gilbert Police Department.
Detective, had you ever met JJ Vallow?
No,
Were you provided any identifying information as to his age or where he might be?
we were provided very little information, just a brief description of what he looked like, his age, and where he should be, which was 565. Sorry, 565 Pioneer Road, where he lived with his mother, Lord Vallow.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask that the witness be handed State's Exhibit 1.
Judge, I'm gonna stipulate to the admission of State's Exhibit 1.
All right, it's being offered, Mr. Wood.
Yes, Your Honor.
State's Exhibit 1 has been offered without objection. The court will admit State's Exhibit 1.
And Your Honor, with that stipulation, I'd actually ask that the witness be handed State's Exhibit 2 and State's Exhibit 3 as well.
Further stipulate to State's Exhibit 2, stipulate to State's Exhibit 3.
Very well. Then presuming they're being offered, State's Exhibits 2 and 3 are also admitted. And Mr. Wood, if they're going to be published, again, same issue we discussed before today's.
Yes, I'll do that. Thank you. Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 1?
Okay.
What is State's Exhibit 1?
That is a birth certificate out of the state of Louisiana.
Your Honor, where this is related, may I publish?
Yeah.
Detective, can you identify who this is a birth certificate for?
The name on my birth certificate is Keenan Todd Trahan,
What is the birth date?
May 25th, 2012.
And where is the place of birth?
Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Your Honor, if I may publish State's Exhibit 2.
You know,
Detective, I'm going to ask you to turn to the second page of State's Exhibit 2. Detective, what is State's Exhibit 2?
It's a decree of adoption.
And reading through that, are you aware of who that is a decree of adoption for?
Yes,
Who is it for?
Keenan Todd Trahan.
And on the bottom of that, can you read the second to the bottom paragraph? That exhibit.
The entire paragraph.
Yes, please.
It is further ordered, the judge and decreed that the name of the child, Canaan Todd Trahan, be changed as follows: Joshua Jackson Vallow, and the registrar of the Louisiana Department of Public Health and Statistics is hereby ordered to make the appropriate changes in its records.
May I publish exhibit 3 now?
Yes.
Detective, what is state's exhibit 3?
That is also a birth certificate from the state of Louisiana.
And who is it a birth certificate for?
Joshua Jackson Vallow.
Detective, in the course of your investigation. In the course of your investigation, have you learned what Joshua Jackson or JJ Vallow looks like?
Yes,
Have you seen pictures of him?
yes, I have.
Were you able to access pictures of him from iCloud accounts associated with his mother?
Yes,
Your Honor, I asked that the witness be handed state's exhibit 4.
All right, the witness is handed the state's exhibit 4.
Detective, you testified that you never met JJ Vallow, correct?
correct.
How did you come to know what he looked like?
Through photographs we were given.
Where did you get those photographs?
We received a few from Gilbert Police. His grandmother, Kay Woodcock. I think that's all I can remember.
And I spoke with you briefly before. Did you ever have occasion to review iCloud accounts belonging to Lori Vallow?
Yes, we did.
And on those iCloud accounts, did you find other pictures of JJ Vallow?
Yes, we did.
And did you find videos of JJ Vallow?
Yes.
Based on your investigation, what does Exhibit 4 purport to be?
Photograph of J.J. Vallow.
And you didn't take this picture, correct?
Correct.
But you recognize that individual as Joshua or JJ Vallow?
Yes.
Your Honor, for demonstrative purposes, the state would move to admit the state's Exhibit 4.
The objection. Judge, there's a little bit of foundation that I want to iron on. So, so what's the source of that picture? Where did
Lori's iCloud, Lori for Style, iCloud.com.
Judge, can we approach just briefly on this issue?
Damn thing was stuck.
Based on our sidebar with counsel, I understand the defense does not have an objection at this point to exhibit 4 being submitted. Is that correct, Mr. Pryor?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, exhibit 4 then is submitted.
Your Honor, may I publish to the jury?
You know,
Detective, who is that?
That's JJ Vallow.
Detective, you were talking about receiving a request to do a welfare check, correct?
That's correct.
When did you receive that request?
On November 25th, 2019, in late evening hours, I received a call from Detective Pillar with the Gilbert Police Department. And he requested that
Judge, I'm going to object at this point.
A request is a hearsay.
at this point, I don't hear an objection on hearsay, so you see.
Can I repeat the question, please?
What did you do in response to that request?
On November 25th, 2019, I received a call from Detective Pillar, of the Gilbert Police Department. He requested that I do a welfare check on JJ Vallow the next morning because he wasn't able to get a hold of JJ or.
I'm going to remove my objection.
Obviously, sustained as hearsay.
Did you do a welfare check for JJ Vallow?
We did.
What date did you do that?
November 26th, 2019.
How did you go about doing that?
On that morning of November 26th, 2019, myself and Detective Dave Hope went to Lori Vallow's residence where we presumed JJ was at. She lived at 565 Pioneer, apartment 175. As we approached, expecting to speak with Lori, we noticed the defendant, Chad Daybell, and Alex Cox unloading a pickup truck near the garage area.
And at this point, were you aware of who Chad Daybell was?
Yes,
How would you learn about him?
through our investigation with Gilbert and communicating with Gilbert Police Department.
And so you recognized who he was.
Correct.
And at that time, were you aware of who Alex Cox was?
Yes, we were.
So after you saw them, what did you do next?
I got out of my vehicle and made contact with Alex. He was standing at the driver's side of his pickup truck, and the defendant Daybell was on the passenger side. I asked Alex if Lori Vallow was home, and he stated that she wasn't home. I asked Alex if JJ was home, that we were there to do a welfare check. And at that point, Alex got a surprised, frightened look on his face, looked over at across the pickup at the defendant Daybell. The defendant Daybell then looked back at Alex. And initially, neither one of them answered my question.
After they didn't answer your question, what did you do?
I asked them again if JJ was home, and Alex Cox finally answered and stated that JJ was with his grandmother in Louisiana.
When you were given that information, did it cause you any concern?
It did, because I informed Alex that it was highly unlikely because his grandmother.
Judge, I'm going to object at this point. We're going to be getting into super soon.
I'll sustain that.
Your Honor, I think the defendant's about to testify what he said to Alex Cox.
Okay, that's not what I understood where it was going. You can ask the question, Mr. Wood.
Detective, what did you say to Alex Cox?
I informed Alex that it was unlikely because Kay.
Judge, I'm going to object. This is going to lead into hearsay.
Your Honor, this is a statement by a declarant on the witness seat. It cannot be hearsay.
overruled, and it is, permissible, so objection overruled.
What did you say to Alex Cox?
I informed Alex that it was unlikely that JJ was with his grandmother Kay, because she was the one who called in the welfare check.
And what was the response to that?
There was no response initially. Alex again looked over at the defendant Daybell, and they kind of both just looked at each other. And at that point, I asked Alex where I could find Lori Bell.
And did he give you a location to find her?
He stated that she was in apartment 107, which is the same apartment complex, just a few apartments down.
What did you do at that point?
At that point, I asked Alex if there was a way I could contact Lori, and asked Alex for her cell phone number. And Alex told me that he didn't have her cell phone number.
Were you aware at that point that Alex Cox and Lori Vallow were siblings?
Yes, through our investigation with Gilbert, we knew that Alex Cox and Lori Vallow were extremely close. So when Alex told me he didn't have his sister's cell phone number, I assumed he was lying to me.
What did you do once you received that information?
Myself and Detective Hope left the defendant Daybell and Alex at the pickup truck. We went over to apartment 107 to see if we can make contact with Lori. At that point, we were just trying to find JJ Vallow.
And were you able to locate him at apartment 107?
No, we knocked on apartment 107, there was no answer. So at that point, Detective Hope began knocking on neighbors' doors. See if we can get a hold of anybody who would know if they saw a little boy coming in and out of that apartment, or who resided in that apartment. And while Detective Hope was doing that, I started walking back to my vehicle to call for more detectives to come over to our location.
Why did you call for more detectives?
Because of the deception from Alex, I wanted to figure out what exactly was going on. And we were going to start canvassing the area and knocking on doors, so the more detectives we had on scene, the better it was for us.
Detective, to clarify, when you first saw Alex and Chad Daybell, did you speak with Chad Daybell?
No, I personally didn't.
So I believe you testified that you started walking back to the original apartment.
Correct.
What happened then?
As I was approaching my car that was parked in the alleyway, I noticed the defendant Daybell driving towards me in a black Chevy Equinox. It appeared he had just left apartment 175 and was headed towards me in the alleyway. So at that point, I stopped him to have a conversation.
What did you ask him?
I asked the defendant Daybell, when's the last time you saw JJ Vallow? And he stated it was in October in apartment 107 with Lori Bell.
Did you ask him anything else?
I did. I asked him how he knew Lori, and he stated he had only met her a couple of times, and that he didn't know her very well.
Did that response cause any concern for you?
It did.
Why?
Through our investigation, prior to me making any contact with the defendant Daybell or Alex Cox, we knew that Chad and Lori had been married 2 weeks prior to my conversation with them in the alley.
So is it fair to say you were troubled by his gentleman? What happened after that?
I asked Mr. Daybell, the defendant Daybell, if he had Lori Bellow's telephone number so I can get hold of her. And he stated he didn't have her phone number.
Did you have any further conversation?
I did. When I was speaking with the defendant Daybell, Detective Hope saw me talking with him and started to walk back to my location. As he approached, I again asked the defendant Daybell for Lori's number because I assumed he was lying to me based on what I knew. And at that time, he did give me Lori's phone number.
Did he tell you why he didn't give it to you in the first place?
He did. He stated that he felt I was accusing him of something.
And had you accused him of anything?
No, I simply asked him the whereabouts of JJ and asked him for his wife's telephone number.
Detective, during this interaction, were you wearing a body cam?
No, I wasn't.
Why not?
In the detective division, most of our interviews are in a controlled environment. We call people into the police department. We have an interview room set up with cameras. So most of the time we're conducting our business and our interviews at the police department. It's very rare we're the first officers or detectives on scene. There's one body cam between 7 detectives. Unlike patrol, where a patrolman is assigned a body cam, a detective is not assigned.
What happened after you got that information from the defendant?
I called my lieutenant at the time and told him what was going on. I felt that based on the deception and lies from the defendant Daybell, who is JJ's stepfather, the lies and the deception from JJ's uncle, who is Alex Cox. I felt there was more going on with the whereabouts of JJ. And so at that time, I wanted to get everybody over there to see if we could figure out what was going on. So I asked my lieutenant to gather some detectives and respond to my location.
And then what happened?
A few minutes later, my lieutenant arrived with Detective Dave Stubbs, who had a body cam at that point. We began knocking on doors. We went back to 175, which is Lori Bellow's apartment, and started knocking on her door and didn't get any answer.
And I apologize if I missed it. Who was your lieutenant?
Ron Ball.
All right, so after you weren't able to get any answers, what did you do next?
Through our investigation, we learned that Lori Bellow's niece, Melanie Boudreau, it was Melanie Pulowski, Melanie Boudreau at the time, it's now Melanie Pulowski. She lived in apartment 174, which is right next door to Lori. So at that point, we knocked on her apartment as well to see if Lori or JJ was at that apartment.
Did anybody answer?
No, they didn't.
What did you do next?
I was instructed to go back to the police department or the prosecutor's office to see if we can obtain a search warrant to search the residence for JJ Vallow, while the other detectives stayed on scene and started knocking on doors in that complex. At that point, our only focus was to find JJ and to figure out what was going on. So we were going to exhaust every means that we could to see if we could do that. And that's why I went to the prosecutor's office to see if I could obtain a search warrant.
And did you obtain a warrant that day?
No.
Why not?
On the way to the prosecutor's office, Detective Hope, with the number that the defendant Daybell provided, called that number. There was no answer, but he left a message. Once we got to the prosecutor's office, Lori Vallow called back, and she was instructed to open the door. There were detectives outside of her door that wanted to speak with her.
And are you aware of if any detectives were able to make contact with her that day?
Yes, they did.
Do you know who that was?
Detective Stubbs and Detective Ball.
And you had mentioned earlier that Detective Stubbs had a body cam on, correct?
Correct.
And do you know if their interaction with Lori Vallow was recorded?
Yes, it was.
Have you watched that video?
Yes, I have.
At that point in your investigation, what did you do?
After,
After Detectives Ball and Stubbs had spoken with Lori Vallow, what did you do? What did you do next?
we were informed that JJ was with a family friend.
Judge, I'm going to object if this is a comment.
Sustain that.
Detective, did you speak with Detectives Ball and Stubbs about their interaction with Lori that day?
Yes,
Did you speak with them that day?
yes,
Did you watch the body cam of their interaction with Lori Vallow that day?
yes, I did.
So you're aware of what she said to them.
Correct.
Based on what she said to them, what did you do next in your investigation?
We attempted to locate the family friend to see if JJ was with her in Gilbert, Arizona.
And do you know who that family friend was?
Melanie Gibb,
Were you able to contact them?
I was not.
Did you have any interaction with Arizona law enforcement day about contacting Melanie Gibb?
I did. It was starting to get into the later hours of that evening. So I contacted Detective Pillar with Gilbert Police Department. And I had him go to Melanie Gibb's residence to see if JJ was there. Ultimately, we learned he was not there.
About what time did you learn that JJ was not with Melanie Gibb?
Roughly 9 o'clock at night.
And what did you do when you found out that he was not there?
I contacted Lieutenant Ball and let him know. And we agreed to meet at the prosecutor's office that next morning early to obtain search warrants for those apartments.
Okay, and just for clarity of the record, which apartments are you talking about?
Apartment 175, which belonged to Lori Vallow, 174, which belonged to Melanie Boudreaux, and apartment 107, because that's the last time JJ was seen based on the defendant DAYBELL'S statements.
Detective, were you able to obtain those warrants?
Yes, we were.
What did you do? Well, what day did you obtain those warrants?
November 27th, 2019, in the early morning hours.
And on that day, did you execute those warrants?
We did.
Let's talk about that. Where did you search first?
We searched apartment 175 first.
Was there a reason you searched there first?
That was his address that we were given from Gilbert Police Department, and that's where his mother lived.
What did you find in apartment 175?
So initially, when we broke down the door, everything looked ordinary. There were couches, there were papers on the table, there was food in the refrigerator, food in the pantry. We went upstairs, there were beds, pictures. Everything seemed that people lived there. The thing that caught our attention was there were no clothes on the hanger in any of the closets. Zero clothes. Just a bunch of empty hangers hanging there like somebody took the clothes off and left.
Did you locate JJ in that apartment?
No,
Did you see any evidence whatsoever to suggest that he had been living there?
yes, we did. There were a couple things. We located a child's Star Wars suitcase underneath a little crawl space under the stairs. It was mixed in with some, what I can best describe as 72-hour kits, and the kits had like flashlights, flares, water. The suitcase was mixed in with those. We also found an old prescription bottle prescribed to JJ of Resperdone. And then we're miscellaneous photographs of JJ in the residence.
And did you see any other evidence of any minor children?
No. Crash. We did. When we first went inside, there were some scooters and a small child's, looked like a small child's bike right on the porch.
Okay. Did you seize anything from the home that day?
We did, I seized the Resperdone and the suitcase.
After you searched apartment 175, what did you do next?
We searched 174, which was Melanie Goudreau's apartment. Everything appeared normal in there. There were no signs of JJ or anything that he was even there. We also searched apartment 107, and that was completely vacant. There was nothing in apartment 107.
Did you seize anything from apartments 174 or 107?
We seized, in apartment 174, we seized some cash, large amounts of cash that were found in the closet. And the only reason we seized those were for safekeeping, because we had kicked the door in there as well, and it wasn't able to lock, so we took that.
Did you locate any weapons in any of those apartments?
So in apartment 175, when we were searching the garage area, we located several different style weapons, handguns, rifles, various calibers, army knives, a lot of different weapons that were inside the garage.
And why did you seize those?
Again, for safekeeping, that apartment didn't lock. And so we took those, so it wouldn't be stolen.
Did you find any evidence that JJ Vallow had been in apartment 174?
No,
Did you find any evidence that JJ Vallow had been in apartment 107? Did you search any other building that day?
we did. In apartment 175, we located a storage unit rental agreement contract. And on that storage unit contract was the name Lori Ryan. It had listed her as the tenant, and it listed the storage unit number as T52, and it gave an address of self-storage on Airport Road in Rexburg. So with that information, we were able to obtain a search warrant for that storage unit as well.
And did you participate in the search of that storage unit?
Yes, I did.
What did you find there?
There were a few bikes, children's bikes. There were boxes of winter clothing, some ice skates. There wasn't a lot in the storage unit. There was a personalized like a family blanket, a big blanket with family photos that were kind of sewn onto the blanket. Those photos had JJ Vallow, Tylee Ryan, and their sibling Colby Ryan. There were pictures of Lori Vallow. But other than that, there was nothing else really in the store.
When you performed these searches, were you looking for Tylee Ryan?
No,
So to your knowledge, she hadn't been reported missing.
that's correct.
Your Honor, if I'd ever reached that far.
Yes. Mr. Wood, I understand this would be a good breaking point in this testimony for the lunch hours, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and take our lunch recess at this time. Before we do that, again, I will just advise the jurors, please don't discuss the case amongst yourselves or with anyone else over the break. In addition, for those in the courtroom, we will be closing the courtroom, I believe, during the lunch break. So things you have in here will need to go with you. We'll reopen upon the conclusion of the lunch break, and we'll still be under the court's governing order for courtroom conduct when we return. So thank you everyone for complying with that. With that in mind, we'll go ahead and take our lunch recess now.
All rise.
Okay, so I gotta ask because this is our first day, right? So should we go to a new one? That way these aren't that long. And then, I mean, I think maybe tomorrow I can set it to where it'll redirect us automatically. You know what I mean? So, and yeah, that way I can step away too because I need to move around. My freaking legs feel like trunks sometimes. um,
So are we gonna like end
yeah,
this one and come back in an hour?
how long did he say? I didn't catch it. Do you
Oh
know?
my gosh. I'll go back and find out. Let's see if Nate probably says.
Does anybody in here? Did he say 30? It's usually 30. It's very short. You couldn't even like really leave. 1 o'clock, Mountain Time. Okay, so yeah, an hour and 6 minutes. And
Okay. All right.
they're prompt.
And
So
and I will do the stream this afternoon and see if I can get the 180, the higher resolution, whatever it
okay,
is.
I went in and adjusted some stuff whenever Beach Bum told me that the ad rolls were like crazy today. So y'all, I had never have been able to like go in and like explore like the things you can do. So I've been able to kind of do that lately, like within the past couple days. So I clicked the thing and so I went and turned that back off. So anyways, sorry, was just testing. I don't know. I didn't even know what ads were because I always paid for premium. I hate ads. But, hey. So, and I just played, yeah, I mean, I did set them. I mean, I can turn them off completely. I don't really know what I had it on before. So that's that thing, where I'm like, I don't know what's default. So just let me know. I know that sucks to be watching during a trial. So yeah, to hell with that. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and schedule. I'm gonna have to I'll
Y'all
use the
come back
same
now.
I'll use the same thumbnail and then yeah. Okay, we'll see you guys uh at 1 o'clock Mountain Time. Be there, be square. Love always wins. Justice for Tylee, Charles, Tammy, JJ, and Joe. Bye guys. See you soon.